Appreciate it. Pretty good.
You
And
got it.
yourself?
I'm doing all right. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm waiting on the burn. I can't wait. I'm going to love it. I call the crash and burn.
You're
That's,
looking forward to it?
oh, yes. Oh, yes. See what Wednesday, when I woke up Wednesday, the day after the election, guess what was sitting on my table? Yeah. A big crap sandwich. And I had to take a bite. So what I'm hoping is the sooner the better. And I want all them Trump bastards to take a big bite of that shit sandwich. Yeah. And I can't
Yeah,
wait to see it happen. And I know it's going to happen because if you look at Trump and his businesses at 40, 50 companies he bankrupt, Taj Mahal alone lost $1 billion, investor money, people's money, other people's money. But it's incredible that he still gets money, borrows money, opens a business, and bankrupts it. And you know what? If you remember his first presidency, he went in with three houses, lost three houses. He lost judiciary midterms. He lost popular vote twice, and he lost electoral Joe Biden. He's a fucking loser. He's good at campaigning, just like he's good at getting money from bankers and investors, but he can't run anything. He can't run this government. And you could already see why is he putting these tariffs on? Because he's a fucking asshole. That's why. And it will crash and burn, and he's going to crash and burn this country. You
yeah.
watch
I,
and
I
see.
don't
Now
I don't
he's
want to.
got Republican judges trying to block this and that. No, let him do it.
Right.
Stand down.
I I understand, but it's the people that are always at the bottom of society that
Well,
will
we're
suffer
going
the
to suffer
hardest.
anyway with this fucking asshole. So let's suffer real good.
Okay.
And you know what? I want them 75 million people that
I appreciate that. I'm not gonna. I don't want to celebrate suffering. I understand what you're saying. I appreciate that, but I don't want to celebrate people's suffering. Quite frankly, it's the people that are always at the bottom in our society. So I would ask my guy just to check your privilege a little bit, okay? Because I'm a cis, white, straight, hetero man in society. I am safe no matter what. I could pack up and leave tomorrow if I wanted to, but many people can't. So we don't want people to suffer. That's the whole point. I think it's going to happen, but I'm not going to celebrate that, sadly, because that's not who we are. Okay. But I appreciate your passion. All right. So just as a reminder, thank you to J42 for your $2 on Cash App. I appreciate you very, very much for doing that. All right. I wanted to talk about Doug. Don't call me Doug. Doug Burgum. So Doug Burgum, you may remember, a billionaire from North Dakota. He was a candidate for president. He sort of spun out, didn't get hardly any votes whatsoever. He is now the Secretary of the Interior. So again, follow the money. Okay. So Secretary, he was just recently confirmed. He's nondescript. He's nondescript. Speaking of confirmations, we'll be keeping an eye on. I think RFK's is today. I think at least Stefanik may even be today as well. There's a couple others. Anyway, we'll be watching that. Secretary Doug Burgum signs first round of secretary's orders to unleash American energy. So today, Doug Burgum officially began his tenure as this goes last week as the 55th Secretary of the Interior, making the start of a new era focused on advancing American energy independence and ensuring the responsibility stewardship of the nation's public lands and resources. Really, Secretary Burgum met with the department leaders, outlined his key priorities, took immediate steps to streamline processes that will enhance efficiency and innovation across the department and advance President Trump's blah fucking blah. Addressing the I'm going to sneeze. Guess not. Addressing the national energy emergency. Remember how words matter. So when you talk about things like a national energy emergency, it expands on presidential powers. So by declaring a national emergency, it frees up resources, in particular DoD related resources, that allows the executive branch to use the military in case there's an invasion, for example, things like this. So when you use words like that, like in national emergency, there's no national emergency. Okay, if gas was $10 a gallon and we were embargoes and we were controlling people being able to purchase at the pump and shit like that, then perhaps you could talk about it in terms of a national energy emergency, but there isn't. By the way, gas prices went up again. They've gone up every day but one since the inauguration. We've been tracking that. Okay. One of Secretary Burgum's first major actions was signing Secretary's Order 3417, addressing the national energy emergency, to address the president's national emergency declaration by tackling the critical need for, quote, a reliable, diversified, growing, and affordable supply of energy. Interior will immediately undertake 2 efforts to address our nation's inadequate energy supply. We are drilling more oil than we ever have. Anywhere, at any point, any nation on earth, at any point, we are drilling more oil. Again, that statement reads, to address our nation's inadequate energy supply, words matter, and protect against the active threat to the national and economic security of the American people. What active threat? Okay. First, Interior will immediately identify all emergency and legal authorities available to facilitate the identification, permitting, leasing, development, production, transportation, refining, distribution, exporting, and generation of domestic energy resources and critical minerals. Second, the department will identify all emergency and other legal authorities available to expedite the completion of all authorized, basically, regulations, fuck regulations. Polluters, knock yourself out. Big oil, go ahead and rip off the American people anymore. Indigenous lands, you're fucked too. That's what that means. To completion of all unauthorized and appropriate infrastructure, energy, environmental, and natural resources projects. So they're going to go after language in the Inflation Reduction Act and the infrastructure bill, because Trump doesn't want Biden's name on any of that shit. They're going to take away permits. They're going to take away regulations. The secretary will report the use of such authorities and submit recommendations for exercising certain authorities as necessary to the president. By the way, Department of the Interior is subjected to congressional oversight. That's part of why you have departments in our government. Number 2, unleashing American energy. Secretary's Orders 3418 aligns the department with President Trump's energy policy to, among other things, encourage energy exploration and production on federal lands and waters to meet the needs of our citizens and solidify the United States as a global energy leader and achieve energy dominance. The order will align the department with Trump's administration's energy dominance policies, which include encouraging energy exploration and production on federal lands and waters, including on the outer continental shelf, in order to meet the needs of our citizens and solidify the U.S. as a global energy leader long into the future. Establishing our position as the leading producer and processor of non-fuel minerals, including rare earth minerals, which will create jobs and prosperity at home. Ukraine, Greenland, all of these countries have a lot of rare earth minerals, and Energy First or America First policy is now to go steal their resources in attempting to gaslight the American public to say, oh yeah, we're going to crank up our energy dominance by just stealing another country's resources. Q, protecting the United States' economic and national security and military preparedness by ensuring that an abundant supply of reliable energy is readily accessible in every state and territory of the nation. Ensuring that all regulatory requirements related to energy are grounded in clearly applicable law. Okay, so you pass a law to do away with regulations, and then it becomes aligned with U.S. law. Cute. Ensuring that the global effects of a rule, regulation, or action shall, whenever evaluated, be reported separately from its domestic costs and benefits in order to promote sound regulatory decision-making and prioritize the interests of the American people. Did you catch that? Read between the lines, friends, right? Ensuring the global effects of a rule, so ensuring the global effects of regulations shall, whenever evaluated, be reported separately from its domestic costs, okay, and benefits in order to promote sound regulatory decision making and prioritize the interests of the American people. So if the American people on the collective wanted us to, I don't know, invest more in sustainable and renewable energy, then wouldn't that be what's in the best interest of the American people? No. Because why, friends? Follow the money. Guaranteeing that all executive departments and agencies provide opportunity for public comment and rigorous peer-reviewed scientific analysis. Okay, sure. Ensuring that no federal funding is employed in a manner contrary to the principles set out above unless required by law. Delivering emergency price relief for American families and defeating the cost of living crisis. This is a good one. Is this going to tell us how they're going to lower prices? Cool. Following President Trump's executive order on delivering emergency price relief for American families and defeating the cost of living crisis, Secretary's Order 3419, delivering emergency price relief for American families and defeating the cost of living crisis, mandates the Interior Department to take immediate steps that will reduce living costs for American families. Are they going to tell us how? Maybe. The order initiates a department-wide review of all programs and regulations that are unnecessarily causing higher living costs for hardworking American families to identify and recommend future actions to lower costs. Interior will focus on ways to eliminate harmful, coercive climate policies. Oh, it's the Green New Deal, y'all. Interior will focus on ways to eliminate harmful, coercive climate policies and lower the cost of energy, which in turn will restore purchasing power to the everyday American and improve overall quality of life. We're all set. We're good. Don't even worry about it. The billionaire who invests in big oil, who's now the Secretary of the Interior, tells us we're going to be fine. Nothing to worry about. We don't worry about the regulations. Don't need them. Don't worry about protected spaces, water, public lands, including national parks. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about tribal land, indigenous land. Don't worry about that. Nothing to see here. We're going to just talk a big game about opening up American energy, drill baby drill, when the oil executives themselves have said, no, we're good. We don't want to drill baby drill. We don't need to drill baby drill. We can't refine what we have. But don't worry. The billionaires who benefit from climate disasters are looking out for us. Yeah, Aaron Brockovich. Yeah. So nothing to see here. Don't even worry about it. They are looking out for you. I don't recall reading anything in there specific about how. Okay, so announcing, this is a little bit further. Announcing President Trump's revocation of former Outer Continental Shelf withdrawals. So the three withdrawals that have been revoked by President Trump's orders are withdrawal of certain areas of the U.S. Arctic coast of the Outer Continental Shelf, that's like Anwar, up in that area. Withdrawal of certain areas of the United States Outer Continental Shelf from oil and natural gas leasing, basically all the things that Joe Biden put into place, that Trump did before, that Obama did before. Basically, they just want to just light a match, so to speak. Achieving prosperity through deregulation. Oh, this is exciting. The Departments of Interior to support President Trump's deregulation agenda. At least they're honest with us. We're gonna deregulate the energy industry. We're gonna deregulate the housing industry, which, in case you guys don't know, that opened up opportunities for VC firms and large multinational corporations to buy up a lot of single family homes, which has kind of put us into this housing crunch that we're in now. Tariffs on lumber and steel the first time, jack the prices up. Well, we're going to use that method again because that's going to lower the cost of houses for families, right? Said no one ever. Trump's deregulation agenda, as outlined in EO, Unleashing Prosperity Through Deregulation. The goal is to reduce red tape. Okay, no regulations. Enhance national security and improve the quality of life for U.S. citizens. I missed that part. Where is the quality of life part? Where is poisoned water improving the quality of life? Where is poisoned air, including improving the quality of life? Where is that? I don't see that. Where are more hurricanes, natural disasters, floods, and fires? I don't see that listed on improving the quality of American life. Anywho, I'm sure they're looking out for us. The billionaires are. Interior will eliminate at least 10 existing regulations for every new one introduced and ensure that the costs of new regulations are offset by removing the costs of previous ones. Okay. All of the department's bureaus and offices are tasked with streamlining financial management and reducing unnecessary regulatory burdens. So is Elon and the camp counselors in training, are they going to go to the Department of the Interior next? Yeah, that's right. I forgot, Courtney. You're right. We control the weather. Forget what I said. Don't worry about it. We control the weather. The Dems do. The Libs do. We on the left, us woke radical leftists, we control the weather with our Sharpies. And then unleashing Alaska's extraordinary resource potential. This order directs the department to take all necessary steps to unleash the state of Alaska's abundant and largely untapped supply of natural resources. The order implements EO 14153, a presidential EO, unleashing Alaska's extraordinary resource potential by, among other policies, efficiently and effectively maximizing the development and production of the natural resources located on both federal and state lands within Alaska, indigenous lands. SO 3422 withdraws Secretary's Order 3401, dated June 1st, 2021, under the Biden administration, and reinstates Secretary Order 3352, National Petroleum Reserve Alaska, dated May 31st, 2017, to prioritize the prudent development of natural resources in Alaska and beyond to ensure the nation's geopolitical security. The Secretary directs an immediate review of all punitive restrictions that have targeted resource developments in Alaska and requires the Interior Department to develop plans of action to carry out the President's agenda for how Alaska can help make America energy dominant again. As the Department of the Interior moves forward under Secretary Burgum's leadership, these initiatives set the foundation for a renewed focus on responsible resource management, economic growth, and cultural preservation. I missed that part. By advancing policies that honor America's heritage, I missed that part too, while fostering innovation and sustainability. The department remains, committed to serving the interests of the American people and strengthening the nation's environmental and energy future. I was expecting how they're going to lower gas prices instead of just increasing the oil company and the investors' profits. I missed that. Wow. Yeah. So, rule of law, separation of powers, birthright citizenship, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Now we can add, our treasured national parks as things that don't fucking matter to the current administration. You guys can reread that. I'll post it. It's the initiative from Doug Burgum's office, the freaking clown show. Yeah. What's going up here? Okay. Yeah, that looks a little sus. All right. Anyway, my apologies. Follow the money, right? Follow the money. Here's just another example of Doug Burgum, who's made his money through a variety of investments related to energy, and everybody else that's connected to this. So we're seeing a pattern here, aren't we? We're seeing a pattern. You know, we've got Elon trying to find crumbs as we went through a list of the lies they told about USAID. It's about the distraction. It's about doing things like this. It's about saying that we're going to make America first. We don't give a flying shit. Right? A flying shit? Sure. They don't care. They don't care about working class Americans. They do not care at all. They don't. And then I want to go back to the tariff battle that the right still seems to think that they won, when it was policy already introduced by Gavin Newsom in Canada about adding border security that was introduced in December. The plan was to roll it out in the first quarter of this year, right on schedule. And in Mexico, similarly. So he got his hat handed to him. But they sold it as a, sorry, Chelsea. They sold it as a, to defend us against the F drug. Well, that's interesting. because I say that because the F drug. Are you guys familiar with the Silk Road? We talked about this before, but one of the things that that Trump has talked about in more of the lies that he has sold to the American people is keeping us safe from the F drug. Okay, that's a noble thing. I think it's a problem here. But what they don't talk about is that he pardoned Silk Road dark web market creator Ross Ulbricht. Who is Ross Ulbricht? U.S. President Trump says he has signed a full and unconditional pardon for Ross Ulbricht, who operated Silk Road, the dark web marketplace where illegal substances were sold. Ulbricht was convicted in 2015 in New York in a narcotics and money laundering conspiracy and sentenced to life in prison. Trump championed Ulbricht's cause, joining libertarians who said the conviction was an example of government overreach. On Tuesday, he said he'd called Ulbricht's mother to inform her that he granted a pardon to her son. Silk Road, which was shut down in 2013 after police arrested Ulbricht, sold illegal substances using Bitcoin, as well as hacking equipment and stolen passports. Ulbricht was found guilty of charges including conspiracy to commit drug trafficking, money laundering, and computer hacking. $200 million worth of the F drug brought into our country through the Silk Road. So, I don't know. That doesn't seem to me like it's really a person who cares about protecting American citizens from the F drug. It just seems more to me like it's just racism. I don't know. Let's tell the American people that it's the F drug when we already know that the overwhelming majority of it is smuggled in being here by American citizens. I'm going to pardon the guy who set up this elaborate dark web scheme to be able to sell more of it, and we'll blame it on brown skinned people. Everybody good? Cool. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So that's Ross Ulbricht. He's a good guy. All right. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. I appreciate you guys being here. And this is the summary of that. He pardons the guy who sells the F drug on his website, but issues tariffs on Mexico and Canada for stopping the F drug. Right? Trump is so worried about drugs entering the country that he just pardoned a guy sentenced to prison for, get this, facilitating the sale of $200 million worth of drugs on the internet. Makes perfect sense to me. Makes perfect sense. All right, everybody, please, if you wouldn't mind, I want to just check in, make sure that we have any announcements to make here. Thank you again. Let me just look at any new subscribers. If you guys haven't yet, I would really appreciate helping us out and getting more subscriptions on FactsStillMatter.site, because we don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. We will exist, but this will be a way that we'll keep our community together. If you appreciate what we do here, there's a couple ways you can thank through donations on Cash App or Venmo, or also by subscribing to our little family, FactsStillMatter.site. You can also find the link in the link tree that it's in my bio. And yeah, so let's see. Any new members today that I can thank? Yes, CYB5. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. We're going to do a little shout out to some of our subscribers on Friday. So if you'd like to be included in that, then you can do that. And just as a reminder, in case you forgot, Valentine's Day is Friday. I forgot. So consider yourself warned. Want to thank, let's see. I would like to thank everything with Erica. I appreciate your platform and for the knowledge for your donation on Cash App. Erica, thank you very much. I appreciate you for saying that. Okay. Let me look at my list here because there's a ton of shit to talk about. So we had an interesting conversation yesterday, and I want to address this with a member of our community who was very, very open and transparent about some of the challenges that they've had in their life, but that admitted that they were a bit of a protest voter, and their response to Trump winning the election is to make plans to leave our country. And I challenged that thinking to say, you protest voted knowing full well what was going to happen. In fact, they even admitted that they were making plans to leave even without knowing who was going to win the election. And it seemed to me to be a bit disingenuous and a bit insincere. So I'm hoping that there's some reflection on that, because people with privilege have the ability to leave. Many people don't. So I would hope all of us that are, especially those people that are sitting with the fact that they made this protest vote, because you're kind of in my crosshairs, quite frankly. The people who, especially who knew what was at stake, and for many of you who made the decision to either not vote for Kamala Harris because of what you believe to be, failing U.S. policy in regards to Israel, and I think we can agree on that. But your claim was that you're doing it to defend Palestine. Well, we know since that's happened, we know about wanting to take over Palestine, let Israel finish the job, and then move in there and make it the Riviera of the Middle East. Well, because we haven't heard much about the ceasefire that Trump has liked to take credit for, we haven't heard much about that. As we know, ceasefires can always be very tenuous. Well, this is what he had to say recently in about negotiations to get hostages out. And again, words matter. He's not very smart, so he doesn't really know what he's saying half the time. But this is what he had to say on that particular topic, because again, words matter.
I'm concerned if all of the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 o'clock, I think it's an appropriate time. I would say cancel it and all bets are off, and let hell break out. I'd say they ought to be returned by 12 o'clock on Saturday, and if they're not returned, all of them, not in drips and drabs, not 2 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 2. Saturday at 12 o'clock, and after that, I would say all hell is going to break out. And I don't think they're going to do it. I think a lot of them are dead. I think a lot of the hostages are dead. I think it's a great human tragedy what's happened, how people can be that mean to do. I mean, the one guy was laughing when a hostage he thought his family was alive, found out the family was dead, and his captor, so to speak, started laughing because he thought it was so funny. This is a different group of people. No, I would say Saturday at 12, we want them all back. I'm speaking for myself. Israel can override it. But from myself, Saturday at 12 o'clock, and if they're not here, all hell is going to break out.
You say all hell is going to break loose. Are you speaking about retaliation from
You'll
Israel?
find out, and they'll find out too. Hamas will find out what I mean.
Mr. President,
They're going to find out what I mean. These are sick people, and they'll find out what I mean Saturday at 12.
Yeah. Protest voters, calling you out. Those of you that did not show up, those of you that put your flag in the ground in defense of the innocents in Palestine, that's what you got. That's what you got. And some of you are now preparing to run, preparing to leave, preparing to pack up, leave the country. Yeah. There's that. I don't know. I don't know. It's quite the miss, isn't it? It's quite the miss, and I think it's really, really unfortunate that you didn't see it. For those of you who, many of you did, I think that's the worst part. Many of you did, and you still chose to do that anyway. 200,000 votes decided this election. Yeah, exactly. No new wars. 200,000 votes. 200,000 votes. And many of you voted because you felt like U.S. foreign policy towards Israel was the Israeli government. Let's make that very clear. U.S. policy towards the Israeli government needed a change, which I think we could all agree with, but we told you what was going to happen. We told you. We told you. And you chose not to listen. So, Kristi Noem, Christy Noem, DHS secretary, former governor of South Dakota, fan of puppies, said no one ever. She's in a little bit of hot water in Trump's circle. I'm not sure if you heard about that. I'll get to that in a minute. I'll bring up Benny. We get our check-in from north of the border. Good morning, my friend.
Oh, my audio's messed up. 1 sec, Steve.
Hey, buddy. Oop. Yeah, we know, Greenland. Remember the connection, you guys. Greenland, Panama, now Ukraine's resources, protecting them. It's Canada, it's all about Russia. Benny knows this. Panama Canal, right. Good morning again.
Friendly neighbor from up north. How's it going, eh?
It's going. How's it going with you?
Pouring my cup of coffee, stepping outside on top of my hill and taking a look down at the U.S. and reminding myself, yeah, that's pretty fucked up, eh?
Yeah.
Talking about the protest voters, and something that I've been bearing in mind is that, we're doing our best to be as united as possible. And I'd like to think that many of us are fairly like-minded for the most part. I'm at this point now where those who were apathetic or those who, protest voted or what have you, I'm not going to necessarily turn down their support, but I am also going to be very cautious of any support because they've shown that, while yes, I'm sure you have some kind of regrets over your decision, you're still showing that you're an unreliable partner. So, I want to believe you, but I'm going to keep you at arm's length for the time being. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Self-reflection would be good instead of doubling down and saying, yeah, well, I did what I did and now I'm leaving. Reflection would be, I did what I did and it was wrong, and I am now in the fight for redemption to try to save the communities that I have claimed all along to support.
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
That was kind of the perspective I've been having over some of the folks who did vote for Pumpkin Spice Palpatine there, and are regretting their vote. Now, there's probably a small handful of folks that I've been able to talk to about that. And again, look, I'm not going to turn down your support in this fight, but I'm also going to be really cautious around you. I'm going to keep you at arm's length for right now. Actions will always speak louder than words, as I like to say. Lately, since I've been posting more and getting a bit more active on TikTok specifically, I've gotten a number of DMs from fellow Canadians, and I'm trying to remind folks that, look, don't think that it's all doom and gloom. Let's not pretend, let's not say this is the end times, but let's be cautious and let's have an exit strategy in mind if push comes to shove. I'm gonna definitely do my best to dig my heels in and fight the good fight, and I know that there's a lot of folks in the States that have the same sentiment, but I'm also going to remind folks that much like dealing with I'm treating it like I'm escaping an abusive relationship, pretty much, because this whole situation and what I've been prepping for reminds me a lot of when I left an abusive ex-partner, right? And that's just taking account of possessions, finances, transport. Is there anywhere else you can go in the meantime? Do you have a support network? Do you have anybody in your vicinity? And that's got me thinking of possibly setting up something via Signal or some kind of app, not just for Canadians, but I would like to try to set that up alongside other Americans as well. Try to have some kind of joint, quote unquote, intelligence network, so to speak, so that we have more secure channels. Because if it does get to a point, there's probably going to be fewer applications and programs that we'll have access to, and we won't be able to have these points of contact like we have right now. So Anyways, that's
Yeah,
just me rambling in
yeah,
your.
no, I appreciate that. I think that everybody has to make the decisions that's best for themselves. But like I'll use myself as an example. I would have no problem putting my kids on a plane and sending them someplace. But I'm
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
fight. No, I'm in the fight. I'm here, and you know
Yeah, yeah.
whatever that
I
look like. I mean, people keep telling me this, and I kind of need to accept it a little bit more that perhaps I'm a bit of a public figure. I still don't think of it that way, but I'm going to assume that may be the case. So,
Well, I mean, you are. Look,
whatever.
you got a large platform. You're out in the public. I mean, that you're one of many content creators that people have been turning to right
Yeah.
now. So, in a way, there is kind of that responsibility, I suppose,
Yeah,
right?
but I take it seriously. It's not like I'm in the fight. I'm not afraid. I am in the fight. There's way too much to lose, and people can accuse us of fear mongering and being hyperbolic. Well, I'm only responding to what I see. So
Well, I firmly believe that level heads will prevail. And yes, while it's important to keep our heads level, I think it's also important to keep our heads on a bit of a swivel. You know, beware, but be aware.
yeah,
If you know what I mean.
I do. Yeah, that's
Um,
good advice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, no, I resonate with that. I mean, I would absolutely, in a heartbeat, put my partner and put my child on a plane, or send them somewhere safe, if they chose to. If my partner wanted to stay and fight, then that's her business. She's capable of making her own choices. But I know where I stand. I know where I am, and
Yeah,
it's cheesy, man. But we're all in this together, right?
we are. We are.
We're all in
I
this
mean,
together. We are brothers in arms in this.
we are. It affects all of us. I know retaliatory tariffs coming down from your country. It's going to harm Canadian consumers. It's going to harm American consumers. I mean, as we talked about, this is especially the EOs coming from the current administration here. It's intended to cause harm
Hmm.
at at the opportunity to just make more wealth, to acquire more wealth.
Yeah. Well,
It's
all we
just
can
really
do
unfortunate.
is do our best to stay educated and stay informed,
Yeah,
because information is absolute. It's power. Information
it's
is power.
it is.
You know, and that is probably our most valuable form of currency
That's why
at the
we're here.
moment.
That's why we're
So,
here.
Steve, I'm going to leave things at that.
Okay,
Listen,
buddy.
as I always say, elbows up and keep your stick on the ice, bud. Take her
You
easy.
you too, buddy. See you later. Love Benny. Benny is. I was gonna say I was gonna make him an honorary American, but who the fuck would want that at this point? But anyway, I would prefer to be an honorary Canadian. So Benny, can you hook me up with that, buddy? Hey Beth, how are you?
I'm doing well, enjoying the snow this morning among the shit show going on around the globe,
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
specifically here, of course, in America.
Yeah, yeah. Follow the money, though, right, Beth? Follow the money.
Follow the money, and if you follow the money, you know exactly where it leads.
Exactly,
I'm
exactly.
on here. I try to. First of all, I love being on your live, and I love watching your lives.
Thank you.
And as someone who's worked in the executive and legislative branch of government, one of the things that I try to do on this app is not tell people how to vote. That's not my job. But my role, as you and others try to promote, is what is the legislative process? What is parliamentary procedure? What is an executive order? It's a piece of paper. It's not law. And so I really appreciate the fact that you're on here and you're constantly trying to get folks to understand the differences between what is legitimate, what is not legitimate, and just encourage everyone who, even if you're a Republican, and I've worked for Republicans and Democrats both, I was in nonpartisan roles many times, that the facts apply across the both aisles. They don't change whether you're Republican or Democrat. The Constitution applies equally across both aisles. And so I
Does
just
it
can
though?
only hope.
Does it though?
Well, currently not in this current administration, that's for
Right.
sure.
Right.
That no. Now that MAGA has taken over the Republican Party, certainly it does not apply. I mean, when you have a vice president saying that the judge's rule or ruling on a motion cannot stand, we have a serious constitutional crisis on our hands. And so, and then you have a president saying that he does not see his vice president as being his successor, on top of the fact that he says we won't need to vote in 4 more years. These are all clear indicators of a constitutional crisis. And so I can only hope that people wake up and see what's going on. I have never in my life, in my career, ever thought that I would see something like this, ever.
I would like to say that too, but for those of us, I mean, not like this, not like this, but I think we've seen it coming. You know, when you start to identify, you know, the wealth gap getting wider and wider and wider. You know, we're talking in terms of trillionaires now. We're seeing rights being chipped away. At any point in our nation's history, when have rights been taken away from people, right? Rights have always been granted.
Absolutely.
So I think it's been coming. To your point, it maybe not to this extreme, but I think it's been coming.
Well, I would definitely agree with you. And I think that his first administration definitely was testing the waters. I agree with you. I think there's been a plan in place. I don't think I saw it coming until he ascended to the presidency. I would also argue, however, that the lack, and maybe this was by design, but Congress has failed to do anything for decades. I mean, we still talk about education. We still talk about the border. We still talk about the same old shit over and over and over again, and nothing gets done. So I don't know if our enemies saw this as an opportunity and, you know, pick this dude because he is so completely incompetent, but able to be manipulated in such a way to be in this position. But I don't know. I'm literally I mean, I'm never at a loss for words until this started happening. And now all I can do is just try and tell everybody, if you can't see it, I'm not sure that I can help you see it, but just try and explain to everyone the differences between an executive order and who can pass law and who can't. The president cannot pass a law. It doesn't happen. That's not how it works. And the lack of civics, and that's to your point maybe. I mean, when did they stop teaching basic civics in schools?
Well, see, and I hear what you're saying, Beth. Obviously, that's a larger conversation, but I think we are guilty of just saying things like the president can't do that, or, you know, the judges, the Supreme Court won't do that. We've got to start thinking differently. We all do. I mean, this is a lesson for all of us to learn. We have to stop thinking that guardrails in government, separation of powers will exist. We have to stop thinking that executive orders are not going to supersede law unless someone challenges it, because that's kind of where we're at. So
Right.
birthright citizenship, for example, when you declare a national emergency and you call something an invasion, then that gives them the ability to poke holes in what we've always considered to be birthright citizenship, unless someone challenges it. And ultimately, when you have majority control in, you know, in government, anything's on the table. I would encourage all of us to stop thinking in terms of what it could be or what it should be, and start talking about what it is and what we see.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. Totally align with that sentiment. And hopefully, again, we can continue to have these conversations and get people to see beyond what is what we've always known. I guess what we've always known. And I struggle with that because I worked in a place where we knew the differences and we respected and revered that process. It, regardless of what side you were on, there was a decorum, there was a process, there was a respect, and again a reverence for that process. And that's eroded to the point where it's no longer even visible. It's not even respected.
Right.
It doesn't exist anymore. So I just encourage everyone to just get involved, stay vigilant. Like you said, follow the money.
Yeah, I mean, the resistance is out there if you know where to look. right? I mean, I think it's just we need again. I keep saying this. I'm always going to try to find a silver lining. If there's a silver lining, we reported on this earlier about how the Senate switchboards and the House of Representatives switchboards have been overwhelmed. 1,600 calls a minute since inauguration day. You know, people
Right.
are signing up for causes. People are joining organizations like National Ground Game to support down ballot candidates. People are volunteering. You know, I asked the question a lot. I put a lot of demands on our folks here. I want to encourage people to get involved. I'm not going to accept that. And get involved does not necessarily mean to get involved politically. It's just get involved in your community. Do something to help support people that we know are under threat. I'm hoping that this moment in time here, for those of us that are here on this earth at this moment in time, we've got work to do. And I hope that people
Absolutely.
will take up the call.
Well, I absolutely agree with that. And I would also add and encourage, and I guess the silver lining out of this whole presidency and shit show that we've been watching since 2015 is that we will see people who get actively engaged in every level of their government process, who will continue to stay vigilant on the bills that are being introduced, who will stay um, uh, engaged, informed, and actively committed, I guess, to electing people and maintaining accountability once they are elected.
Yeah.
I hope we see a societal shift
Me too.
in how we pay attention to this process.
I agree.
So that's the only silver lining at this point that I see.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean
So,
the silver lining again exposing the millionaire class because they've been the enemy that they're ultimately the common enemy that everybody should be aware of that. And you know the oligarchs and corporations and the suppression of voices and suppression of labor and not valuing work that they've always been the common enemy. It's just I think maybe more and more people are starting to realize that. I hope.
I hope so. I hope
Yep.
so. Well, just
Yep.
keep up the good work. I
Thanks.
love listening to your lives, and let's just continue to be vigilant and do what we need to do.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate you very much. Have a good day. It is a weird phenomenon, right? That you know we've reached a point in our system where um, people are going to suffer, and it's the suffering potentially that might open people's eyes. I guess that's what it takes, right? Because the majority of us cis white hetero men who've never really been impacted by anything, we've got license and permission to go wherever we want and do whatever we want, and yet here we are now. Many of us are suffering as well. Maybe not directly, but indirectly. Our families, our friends, our jobs. In some cases, we're here. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, buddy. Well, I mean that's why I wanted to come up, right? Like, because this is what we touched on the radio show last night, right? We were talking about how people that share our demographics, they have to experience the bad thing before they can be empathetic towards the bad thing, right?
Right.
And I think what you were saying, you and I said this yesterday. We have to stop thinking that the checks and balances are actually in place anymore.
Correct.
Like there is no one in the Republican Party that is going to challenge him as long as his base is solid.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, we talked about the potential for the split between the Elon side of the MAGA-verse and then the non-Elon side of the MAGA-verse, the Trump side. And if that's a potential rift between the two, can you divide them there? Because the billionaires are never going to pick the MAGA simps. Never going to pick them. They never would have. And then the Trump guys feel a bit alienated by the corporate elite. At least that's what they've told us. And yet now they're cheering on a definitive, a person who defines a corporate elite, which is Elon. So that may be a split that we could take advantage of potentially.
Yeah, I think there's a couple. I think what Will is doing with the farmers is a great start. I think that there are schisms between law enforcement and him now because of some of his funding freezes, and you like telling criminals that if you support me, I'll pardon you.
Right.
Right. Like, because that opens the door to What if there's a person who unalives cops in some small town, but he says, I'm a Trump supporter, I love Donald Trump? Is Trump going to come in and pardon him and set him free? You know, and that's something. I think those are areas where pressure can be applied to kind of split that base up, because MAGA has to realize that at the end of the day, they don't have their interests at heart, right? Like the oligarchs do not care about them; they are fodder.
Exactly. Literally. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this earlier about the for-profit prison industry and how it's spiked under Trump, and Biden put some caps on it, and they're going to take those caps off. It's going to spike again. You're going to be putting undocumented immigrants in. You're going to create crimes. You're going to convict them of said crimes. Then you're going to reenact the 13th Amendment, so they become slave labor. Again, follow the money.
Oh, and then when we have Marco Rubio saying, "Oh, we're going to send American citizens to El Salvadorian prisons,"
I know. Yep.
like
They do not care. I mean, American citizens. I mean, American citizens. In many cases, there are brown-skinned Trump voters out there, and so all bets are off. Because for people to stay, I mean, I think one of the one of the byproducts of MAGA in their belief set is that it's only them. They're not going to come after me. They're only going to go after the libs. They're only going to go after the members of the LGBTQA community. They're not going to come after me. Well, guess what? They certainly are. You're fodder.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, and some of them are starting to see it, right? Like, we mentioned the farmers and the police departments in particular, because, getting rid of the Inflation Reduction Act, right? That hurt farmers in America.
Absolutely. I mean, the tariffs the first time was damaging to farmers. No doubt about it. And here we are again, steel and aluminum once again. It's going to damage domestic manufacturing. It's going to put more people out of business. Here we are.
Yep. Construction industry is going to be hurt because of the steel tariffs and things.
Correct.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
Prices will go up for houses once again. We think about this, the lumber and the steel tariffs the first time around prior to COVID. That's when you can start to see, from that point forward is when the cost of housing started to go up. So, it's history. It sucks to have this information at our fingertips.
Yep. Well, and this goes back to what we said yesterday, right? Like about how you can resist, right? Like a simple act of resistance is to take, photos and screenshots of things of like the housing costs in your city, right? Like to show month to month to month how they change now that these laws are going into place, or even like the cost of like gasoline or eggs or bread or other staples, or as Matt says, the cost of a gallon of lobster.
Yeah, exactly. A gallon of eggs, a gallon of lobster. It's exactly right. I mean, I did this. I've started to see Trump's picture pointing to something, and I did this, and let them have a taste of their own medicine, so to speak. Rusty, how you doing, buddy?
I am dandy. I just had a quick joke for the morning, and then I got a whole ass. But hey, Ben.
Hello.
So this Trumper passes away, and he goes to the pearly gates. And while he's standing there, St. Peter opens up the gate and says, "Welcome, come on in." And he's, "Oh, this is fabulous. I made it to heaven." And he goes in, and he sees heaven is just beautiful and wonderful, but it's filled with all kinds of people. White people, little brown people, drag queens, everyone. He says, hey, St. Peter, wait a minute. What are those people doing up here in heaven? St. Peter says, "Well, my son, everyone is welcome into heaven." And he goes, "Oh no, the deep state's made it all the way up here."
Yeah. Try the veal.
Hey, they can't all be gold.
Hopefully some can.
Let's workshop that one, Russ, and let's try that one again later.
God, nothing but love in the room. Nothing but love.
We love you, buddy. We love you. Talk to you later.
You should join Brett as a sit down comedian, I think.
Wow. Okay, look, I love Brett, but I'm funnier than him.
Not with that one, you weren't.
Oh,
I
fine.
know. Get out of here. See you later. Everybody's saying, where's the punchline? I know.
Jesus.
I know. We talked about a few things this morning. I kind of took folks through we talked about this briefly yesterday about the bill in North Dakota, about rewriting the Constitution and changing it, basically so North Dakota becomes a state of God in their Constitution, and to something that
Which violating the First Amendment. Let's go. Yeah.
yeah. So to Beth's point earlier, I mean, and to the conversation that you and I have had about we have to stop accepting things as if they're normal, like that's a violation of that. So we know that is unconstitutional what they're trying to do. But do you think people like like Clarence Thomas or Alito are going to stop it?
No.
Of course not.
No, they'll agree.
Of course they will.
Clarence Thomas, it's always been about restricting rights and things. Like, and Alito's not far behind him. But Clarence Thomas is always, like, even if you look at some of the recent rulings, like Clarence Thomas was like the sole person, like, standing against everybody else, right? Like, so yeah, he'll absolutely side with North Dakota on that.
Yeah, I mean, but it's going to take people to challenge it. It's going to take people like Mark Elias's organization, Democracy Docket. It's going to take class action lawsuits filed on behalf of citizens. It's going to take work, and I firmly believe that the right and the Christian nationalists and the Nazis in our government just don't expect people to do the work because we've never proven that we will.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. We as a citizenry, right, we don't like being uncomfortable.
Nope.
And we like our creature comforts way too much to risk those things to do massive walkouts, right? Like, we could shut down this economy and make them, like, come and beg us to come back if every single person in America just didn't show up to work tomorrow. Exactly. Right? Like, if we just all collectively said, nope, not going to do it, and just didn't do it, do you know how fast the billionaire class would be begging us, like, to come back so that, they could get their wheels turning again? They would be on their knees offering us whatever we wanted. They'd be like, you want paid vacations? You got it. You want healthcare? Done. Come back, right? Exactly. But we are too afraid that, but what if they'll fire me because I'm the only one who didn't do it? Well, if you say that and everybody else says that, then nothing changes and they continue to exploit you.
Exactly. I mean, it's the risk that people, it's a big risk for people. I get it. I understand, but that's the only way. Again, follow the money. So if that's the intent, I talk to you guys about this every fucking day. What is going to affect them the most? And Ben just said it. It's their pockets. A national strike in every industry, people just not showing up. And do you think corporations are going to fire everyone? They can't. There's no way.
No.
That's the power of the worker, right? I mean, they've never valued your work. They don't care about you as an employee. They tell you that they do. Now, some companies are better than others, certainly. But by and large, no, they're all bad. They're all part of the system. How do you take back power? You take power from them and demand what you want. Demand protections at work. Demand universal health care. Demand it.
And the reality is, though, is that the only reason they have any money, right, is because of the working and middle classes, right? Like, the wealthy have never generated jobs. The wealthy have never created a single job in the entire history of industry.
Correct.
Jobs are created through supply and demand.
Exactly.
As they sell more products, Walmart didn't wake up and say, I'm going to hire 100 people today. As they could not meet the demand, they were forced to hire. So as we buy things and sell things, that creates jobs. The middle class creates jobs. And until we remember that and remember we're the reason that any of this even works, we are allowing them to just have our power.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think of it this way, think about how they're now all squawking about finding all this corruption in government, which they've been lied to, all this money that Elon Musk is finding. There are American taxpayers here that genuinely believe that they're going to get the money back that the government has found.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. They're going to give it to their rich crony
Of
friends.
course they are. So through tax breaks and subsidies. It's exactly
Yep.
what they're going to do. You're not going to get it. Your taxes are going to go up. You're cheering.
Yep.
You're cheering for people globally and domestically being harmed. You're cheering that veterans' benefits are being taken away. You're cheering that kids in schools will starve. You're cheering that community health centers will be closed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, thinking that you're going to get that money back. You're not. It's to fund more tax cuts and more subsidies so that the people that are ripping you off will rip you off even more.
And they'll keep telling you, oh, we just need to cut this project, and then we'll get back to you, and then they'll get rid of that service. Then we need to cut this one, right? Like, we need to get rid of Social Security because it's such a drain. Then you'll get your money back. That's what they'll keep saying, and they'll keep buying it because they don't want to admit that they've been conned.
Correct. That's the indoctrination. That is exactly the indoctrination. I'm going to bring up Aurora. Everybody, please continue to like and share the live. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribe, FactsStillMatter.site, or you can join us through the Facts HQ, which is in the link in my link tree. Hi, Aurora. How are you today? Aurora, are you there? Aurora? I guess not. You can request again if you'd like to. I'm happy to talk to you.
But and if you don't believe,
Where'd you go?
involved in like a lot of our corporations, and like he does a TED talk, and one of my favorite examples actually comes from him, right? Like if we were to talk about who actually drives the economy, if it's based on buying and selling, right? Like if we were to just reduce the American population to 300 million people, and the top 1% all bought 5 cars each, right? That's 15 million cars sold. But if the remaining 150 million or whatever, like half of the remaining people each bought 1 car, who bought the most cars? Who drove the economy?
Exactly.
Right?
The collective.
And, and he makes the point, it's like, I only own so many shirts. They may be nicer than the shirts you own, but like I'm still only buying, the same number of shirts that each of you are. Like I'm not driving the economy. When you give me money, I'm putting it in stocks and bonds to make myself wealthier. I'm not putting it back in the economy to drive like wages and things like that.
Correct. That's exactly right. Political posture. How are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you for this live. There are a lot of us that are trying to get off our asses and do the work that you're doing also. So I really appreciate it. One of the things that I constantly toil with is how we got to this point. And there are so many reasons that we can point to. But one of the things that I think is something that I don't know that we can solve for is how do you get people out of a cult mindset? Because that's what it really is. Because we're in a space where there's truly a cognitive dissonance between reality and whatever environment that MAGA has created for themselves. And I wonder, how do we get, because there are people in MAGA who are waking up and are saying, oh, I regret my vote and all that kind of thing. But like, is that enough to turn the tide? If our courts aren't able to be the bulwark we need them to be. I was looking at an issue today where the court reinforced its stay on freezing federal funds, and the judge threatened, that they could be found in contempt. And of course, if they're found in contempt, then we would have to rely on the court marshals. The court marshals are unfortunately headed by the DOJ, but they are required to enforce court orders. So our court marshals could definitely end up being the enforcement piece that we're looking for. But like, if his popularity, for whatever reason, stays where it is, because right now it's still uncomfortably high, how do we get those people to wake up from the sunken place that they find themselves in? And don't need to be funny about it, but it's like, it can't just be progressives that fix this. We have to somehow not only, I know, and it's fun to laugh at them and say, I told you so, and fuck around and found out they did, which they did, all true. But how do we make sure that we get enough of them to see that this isn't, or do we wait for them to feel the pain? And I'm afraid if we wait for them to feel the pain, it might be too far gone.
Yeah, I
So
think it's a good question. I think
yeah.
it's a couple things, right? I think so. I've kind of my focus is on the roughly 50 or 60 million of people that didn't vote, that
Hmm.
didn't participate in democracy,
Yes.
because the way I look at that, the math is on our side, right?
Right.
The majority of Americans believe in universal health care.
Yes.
The majority of Americans believe in responsible gun legislation, whether it be universal
Absolutely.
background checks, red flag laws. The majority of Americans believe in women's rights to their body, right? So
Hmm.
there's plenty of voters that would stand for these things, but people are just not participating. So you're talking about a subset of our population. I break MAGA, I break Republicans down into three basic categories, right? There is hardcore MAGA that no matter what Trump does, they will find a way to spin it, excuse it, mental gymnastics their way out of it, right?
Listen. Yeah.
There are right there are the party line voters that no matter who the Republican nominee is, they may be very well misinformed about who he is. They are going to just follow along. And then there's the people that will benefit from his tax cuts,
Hmm.
right? And they all have, there's some racism, there's some bigotry, there's some misogyny, all sprinkled in with all of them. It's so the MAGA wing, so the 20 to 25% of them, they may not be redeemable. They may not at a large scale. But everybody else whose lives are going to be, even the MAGA folks will be impacted, but everybody else whose lives will be directly impacted, who made their vote, there may be 1 or 2 or 3 or 5% you can peel away. But it's the 50 to 60 million
That
Americans
stayed
who chose
home.
not to participate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's plenty of us, but voter apathy for people, protest voters, people who just decided I'm going to sit this one out and are now complaining. I say fuck you, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You had an opportunity. I mean, all we ask is for people to register to vote and go vote. If you don't
Hmm.
like this, there's plenty of people. I know voter suppression exists. I get it. Overwhelm the polls.
But
Demand your
see,
rights be honored. And
but here's the
that's
thing. I think the other our side, because I'm an independent, but I've always voted Democrat just because that tends to align with my worldview on most things.
sure,
But not because I trust him all the time.
of
But
course.
but the thing is, though, is like when you're looking at who you're voting for and things like that. I think a lot of the apathy built up before now because people feel like they don't see action. They don't see the things that they voted for, protested about actually coming into action as far as Democrats are concerned, I think. And I feel like one lesson that Trump is showing us is that the optics matter. Even if what you're doing is flagrantly unconstitutional, illegal, even stupid and asinine,
Right.
people get a rise out of it appearing as if you're really doing something. These executive orders that he's signing are 9 times out of 10 illegal for the most part,
Yeah.
but it makes him appear to be doing some shit in the first.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
It's team sports to MAGA.
Exactly, and we don't do that on the other side. We're very much like buttoned up. On our side, and we don't like to do the showmanship and the bluster. But I feel like if we catch the tide of where we're at right now in the social media driven age, we gotta figure out a way to make the bluster be a part of the good policy initiatives because that's what people want to see. And even if it's bullshit, it looks good.
Yeah, I mean, that's very well said. We talk about this often about how the right wins elections because of bumper sticker politics. Drill baby drill, lock her up, fuck Joe Biden. Stop the steal. All these kinds of things are effective. There's been proven strategies. You could think about some of the most memorable advertising campaigns. Where's the beef? Just do it.
Right.
All those kinds of things. It's a strategy and
Hmm.
it works. There are no policies behind it other than hate-filled rhetoric. But when you tell somebody you're gonna untap American energy and drill baby drill, obviously that's going to be appealing to people who are not willing to pay attention.
Right.
You'll ignore everything else. You set the bar, you set the stage by telling your voters that everything that everybody else tells you is a lie. I am your only source of truth.
Hmm.
That's indoctrination.
It
That's
is.
a cult, and that's a tough nut to crack.
Absolutely is. Thank you so much again for all the work you do. I will definitely be tuning in more often. I really appreciate you allowing me a chance to speak.
Thank you, friend. I
I'll
appreciate
continue
you.
watching.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
I've done the same. All right. Bye bye.
See you later.
And to kind of build off that, Steve, too, like, we've said this before numerous times on your live, too. This is one of the areas where Democrats lose people is that we spend too much time thinking that Americans want to be like super, super informed about every issue, right? Like, and we spend too much time on the nuance behind the voting decision in our messaging, and then it just kind of people's eyes glaze over. We as a party need to come up with those like bumper sticker slogans to try and get the people who aren't wanting to really be informed, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've seen videos of people like, overturn Obamacare, and then in the same video it's like, no, I like the ACA.
Exactly.
Like, they're not informed, and like pretending that they want to be informed is not helping us, and that's why we continue to lose elections. We need to come up with some of these pithy little slogans that will drive people to be like, yeah, that sounds awesome, let's do it.
Yeah, like, I mean, if the DNC is listening right now, I've got one for you, and I'll offer it for free. Safety, affordability, freedom. Put it on a bumper sticker. Put it on a flag. Who would argue with that? Safety, affordability, freedom. Done.
Well, I will say, David Hogg, we're trying to get him on the show because he's a friend of mine and of Brett's, and now that he's the DNC chair, right? Like, maybe I'll bring you on that night too.
Love to.
And you can pitch that to him, right? I'm hoping that he will bring a new energy, especially considering all of his intersections, and we'll change some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, if it were me, and we've talked strategy a lot, my target are the 60 million voters that didn't show up. That's the target. I think the number was 200,000 votes is what changed this election in those swing states. We know that I'm tired of just focusing on swing states. I want to expand the map, and in every state, there is opportunities to pick up voters from the disenfranchised voter or the apathetic voter. This is 60 million registered voters that didn't show up, right? So that's the problem. And like we discussed earlier, the majority of things that sadly are considered progressive, like it's progressive to want universal health care. It's progressive to want to keep kids alive in school. It's radical to want to protect the climate. It's radical to want to protect women's rights to their body and for the LGBTQI community to exist. Those are radical ideas that the overwhelming majority of Americans, right, left, and center, believe.
Yeah, well, and also think about how Texas could have been in play, right?
Sure.
Texas could have been in play if we'd have had like better messaging systems, right? Like it wanted to go, blue.
Yeah.
And our messaging just is not good. That's like one of the biggest things that like I always hit the left for, right? Like especially like in my area with guns, right? Like it takes a good guy with a gun to stop a bad guy with a gun. That's a great slogan, right? Like no matter what we say about the NRA, that's a good damn slogan, and the left doesn't have anything to counter it.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this. I don't necessarily always agree it's the message per se. And what I mean by that is that when you're talking about defending human rights, it's boring. I mean, it's obviously the most important thing, but follow my logic here. It doesn't resonate with the way that, the brown-skinned people are coming for your families. They're going to grape your daughters. Defending human rights on the collective is boring. It doesn't fire up people the way we'd expect it to. And you add that to the fact that in social spaces in particular, we are getting our ass kicked. We, the progressive left, non-Democrats, non-status quo Democrat, it's the progressive left. We're getting our asses kicked in social spaces. That's because part of the strategy from the right has been to invest. And then you lean on Russia through RT media to fund conservative right-wing, freaking radical right-wing talk spaces on the right to be able to spread that message. So I hope that, again, the DNC, if they're looking at these strategies, is to put their politicians, those that are well-known, in front of the American voter, not elbow to elbow with celebrities, not elbow to elbow with status quo Democrats. The days of seeing Hillary and Bill Clinton on the campaign trail, as far as I'm concerned, are done. I don't want to see it ever again.
Well,
every day.
you've talked about this before too. This idea that all they do is go on the traditional media, but like
Exactly.
young people in particular do not watch traditional media,
Nope.
right? Like most people like get their news from social media, and yet how many podcasts did Harris go on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a
For that
mistake that she
long.
didn't do Joe Rogan. I think it was a mistake that she didn't do it. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but I think it was a mistake.
Yeah, I think they were starting to see like the power of social media because they were inviting a lot of us to go places with them, but they didn't fully invest in it. They didn't fully support that whole idea, and I think that's one of the ways that hurt them too because people need to see them in human moments, not just like on a stage talking to a crowd
Yeah.
or on like CBS or Fox News or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I'll use this opportunity to remind folks coming up next Monday, the 17th, not President's Day, by the way, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Going to be joined by Gay Valamont. Gay is running to fill the seat once occupied by Matt Gaetz, District 1 in Florida. That special election comes up on April 1st. There's also an organization that's connected to Gay and also to Josh Wheel, who's also running to fill a seat in Florida, District 6. The organization is called National Ground Game. You can find information about that on the link tree that's in my bio. I am not connected to that PAC in any way. I'm simply here to advocate for it, to promote it. They have a 50-state strategy to register more voters, to get more people involved, to identify people's skill sets and how someone can help a campaign. Just because you don't live in a district doesn't mean you can't support a campaign. Just because you're not there to knock on doors doesn't mean you can't phone bank. Doesn't mean you can't, help fundraise, things like that. So again, there's an opportunity here. So that interview is next Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. For those of you who were out in the TikTok spaces last night, Gay did a live that she hosted. It's great to meet her. She's the kind of person that we really want as an elected official representing our country in Congress. And yeah, it's things like that. It's putting people out there. It shouldn't just. I want to see more people. I'm hoping that the Democratic strategy shifts, but my concern is because they're connected to a lot of the same corporate donors that the right is, that they won't. It's on us. It's on
Yeah.
us. It's David Hogg has a big job ahead of him, and I hope that David Hogg is listening and he wants to come on the show and talk about the future of the Democratic Party so that more people can be engaged.
Yeah.
It's necessary.
Yeah, once I get him locked down for mine, I'll get you on there with us, and you can pitch that to him as well.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
I think it's a good point, right? We need to have these people in these positions listening, right,
exactly.
and coming to the places where the people are, right? I mean, and it's like I've said, in different spaces, and you and I privately, you meet people where they are, right?
Exactly.
Like we can't expect them to have our breadth of knowledge on a topic. We have to meet them where they are and then spoon feed them and get them to where they need to be.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about pick an issue, whatever that issue may be. I mean, I want this is really important. I want to say this again. I've said this a lot over the past couple of weeks. Not everyone is cut out for politics. You may not have any interest at all in becoming involved in politics. You may not have any interest at all in doing any of that. Excuse me, but it doesn't mean you can't exercise your activism muscle. Volunteer in a community, help out a neighbor. Go to a school board meeting. Consider attending a local event, things like that. Because as you start to do that, then you expose yourself to more people, and then you build a network. So that's how I would encourage the first step of activism. And remember, the resistance is everywhere if you know where to look. So, hi, Moth. How are you?
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Ben. I have to laugh every time I say good morning to both of you because my fiance's name is Ben and my future brother-in-law's name is Steve.
Well, I'm sure they're exceptional men.
How are you doing, Ben?
I am here. How are you this morning, Mom?
Well, I spent all morning thinking it was Wednesday and getting ready for my therapy appointment, only to realize it was only Tuesday. After I panicked and messaged my therapist like, I don't have my email with my link to our appointment. What's going on? And then I looked at my calendar and realized it's Tuesday.
Beep, burp, burp. I'll be right back.
So, Moth, I have time blindness, right? Like I have no idea how much time passes at all, ever, right? Which makes life very interesting. So I can empathize with that with you.
I was all panicked. No, never mind. That's tomorrow morning, not today. Whoops.
Well, I'll let you make your mod announcements, and I'll sit here silently.
Okay. All right, everybody. There's just under 1,000 of us in here, and we're just barely over 200,000 likes. We can definitely get those up higher. Let's at least get to 250, but if we could get to 3, that would be even better. Let's work on those shares too. We should definitely be up to at least 500. We're just about there, so let's keep sharing the live, keep double tapping that screen. Let's get those likes and shares up. Go to the FactsStillMatter.site. You can subscribe through there, and you can also access the merch store through that site as well. If you are a subscriber, you get 10% off in the merch store. You also get access to sub-only events in our Discord. You don't have to be a subscriber to join the Discord, but if you are, you do get some awesome perks with that. The link to the Discord is in Steve's bio in that link tree there, so definitely join up. When you join the Discord, just submit a ticket, and we will work on getting you verified as quickly as possible. I think we have quite a few tickets going right now, so just follow the instructions. It's pretty simple, and we'll get you all set to go there. Fax's pay apps are up here on the screen. Also, if you go up there next to his name up in the top left-hand corner, you can send a heart me. All of these things help push us out to the FYP and are very important and much appreciated. And that's my spiel.
Thank you, Moth. I really, really appreciate you for doing that. A member of our community who, again, I'll say this, anybody who ever does lives knows that you can't do it without an amazing team of mods, and I have the best mods in the biz. So thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all very much. Thank you, Moth.
Appreciate it.
Do you want to ride out of here?
Sure.
Love you, Moth.
All right. Victoria, I see you, buddy. Hang tight.
Rob, if you want to bring Victoria up, Steve, like if you want to trade us out to keep the number of allies in the box low.
I don't debate anymore for the most part. I don't think anybody. Mag is afraid to debate me at this point, but whatever.
Okay, cool.
You're good. JB, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Yes. Real quick, I follow a guy named Christopher Goldsmith. I don't know if you're familiar with him. It's with a K. He's a former vet who's been fighting through the courts against extremist groups for some time. And one of the things he talks about is how to fight back against fascism. And one of the things he said today that I think that needs to get out to all you streamer guys is stop calling it Doge. You're legitimizing it when you call it Doge. You want to start calling it doggy. And that sounds trite, but it isn't. Because when you use the terms the fascists use, you legitimize them. And Doggy is not a legitimate department. We all know that. But the problem is the average voter doesn't get the distinction. So when you call it Doge, you are legitimizing it to everybody, even though, and especially if you don't make qualifications right after. If you don't say, this is not a legitimate department, it was not created by Congress, it was never, authorized, Musk has no official authority, everything he's doing is illegal. If you just use the term, you're giving him power. And I don't know how to get to any other people because they only take opposition. And so you have more contacts than I do. But just to get that out there, stop calling it Doge. Call it Doggy.
I like that. Doggy or doggy. I like that.
Doggy, I don't care.
Sure.
And the other thing he says is to encourage people to start fight fascism book clubs. And if, neighbors and communities and stuff, because like you say, you need to create a community and people need to get educated. And on his Substack, or I don't know which if you look him up, it's Kristofer Goldsmith.
Okay.
If you look him up, he has links to authors, books to read in book clubs, to fight fascism, to become aware of what it is and how it takes control. And it's like a community type thing where a lot of people don't want to get out and protest, don't want to do anything like that, but they join a book club and you can get a community going that's going to be more knowledgeable and more aware of what's happening. And especially now that they're trying to defy court orders. And I just think the education is so important.
I appreciate you saying that, JB. Thank you for that perspective. I think from now on, thanks to you, I will refer to it as doggy. I think that's
Yep.
how
And
I'll
if you
refer
could
to it.
press, like I can't get on Adam Craze or any of these guys because they only take opposition. As soon as you get on, they say, we don't want to talk to you. Goodbye. And I get that. They want to debate.
Sure.
So I have no way to reach out to them. And I'm 76, retired, and worried about Social Security. So I can't pay subscriptions to all these places.
I got you.
So I'm kind of using you as my door in.
I'll gladly be the door in, but I appreciate you saying that, JB, and thanks for that perspective. You have a lovely day. Be safe out there, okay?
Yep, thanks.
You got it. Something that JB just said that reminded me of this quote that I found from Robert Kagan, Washington Post of May 2016. This is how fascism comes to America, not with jackboots and salutes, although there have been salutes and a whiff of violence, but with a television huckster, a phony billionaire, a textbook egomaniac, tapping into popular resentments and insecurities, and with an entire national political party out of ambition or blind party loyalty or simply out of fear falling into line behind him. That's kind of what we're experiencing now. I was, by the way, Ben, I was Victoria's conduit to you last night.
Yeah, I know. I saw that you were just repeating the things she was posting in the YouTube channel.
And, by the way, I was not giving her credit for it. If you noticed that.
No, I noticed that
credit.
too. I didn't.
I did notice that. Yeah, I saw that too.
Good morning, my friend. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm good. I'm here. I've chosen it's going to be a good day because we're going to fight fascism.
We are. Yeah. We're all in the fight because, as we know, as we've discussed many times, it's about following the money. And I don't want people to lose sight of that. Obviously, we know that there are Nazis in our government, and we are all authorized to punch a Nazi if you see one. But the goal is enrichment. Because think of it this way, and I said this earlier, and I may not have talked about it enough, but there are people, especially the hardcore MAGA loyalists, who are living paycheck to paycheck, who are cheering on the soon-to-be world's first trillionaire, thinking that they're finding all this waste and fraud in government, and I feel like they genuinely believe that they're going to get a check in the mail. Like
Yeah,
they're going to get a rebate, and that is just crazy to me to think that. Crazy.
Yeah, they think they're going to get money back, and they're not. They're not going to. Because like when I requested originally, we were talking. You guys were talking a little bit about like democratic messaging, but there was another point that I thought about earlier when the topic came up, talking about billionaires and how much money that they have, and like people. I would cost the same for a poor person as it does a rich person. Just one of those people has to make a decision there, the other doesn't. And if you don't understand like that like mentality, then I can't explain to you why billionaires are bad. Like, because they don't have to think about it. They're not going out and thinking about buying milk or bread or eggs or all those things. They're thinking about their next stock investment. They're thinking about the thing. So like they are not the same. They are not like us. And we have to
like another. I think the issue is that humans can't imagine, they can't envision just how big a number a billion actually is, right? Like they think of it in terms of millionaires. And, so I use this example in my class that if I were to give you $250,000 a year and pay the taxes on it, but you couldn't spend a dime of it until you hit $1 billion, it would take you 4,000 years to make $1 billion. Right? Like, that's an unfathomable amount of money, right? That means there's no such thing as an ethical billionaire because you can't ethically make it in your lifetime.
Yeah,
And I mean, like
I shared this
go
earlier,
ahead.
just real quick before I shared this earlier. The breakdown: 1,000,000 seconds is 11 and a half days. 1,000,000,000 seconds is 31 years. 1,000,000,000,000 seconds is 31,688 years.
Exactly.
And we're going to have 5 trillionaires in the world within the next 3 years.
And think about like if you think about like $250,000. I don't know, chat, is that a lot of money to you? Because to me, I hear $250,000 and I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money.
That's
That's more money
life-changing
than
money.
my husband and I make combined.
Yep, that
That's
is
life
life-changing
changing.
money. Yep.
Yeah. So like if that's a lot of money to you, I'm gonna blow your mind here. You should not be voting Republican.
Exactly.
You should not be voting. If you think $100,000 is a lot of money, don't be voting Republican.
It's true. And
Like-
and it is, and that is a lot of money, but not
Yeah.
for. But the point, to your point, even people who make 250,000 shouldn't be voting for Republican because you're still going to get it. Just your taxes are still going to go up.
Because like Paul Ryan, when he was still in office, he said those of us in the middle class, you know, those making $450,000 a year, right? That is what the wealthy consider just the middle class. Everybody else is poor.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I want to play this again, and I played it earlier for those of people who weren't here. It's just Jon Stewart, and we know how awesome Jon Stewart is, and the way in which he breaks this down. Because as we know, the biggest recipients of welfare in our country are corporations and the rich, through subsidies, through tax cuts, whatever it might be. I mean, he just explains it really, really well. And of course, it's Jon Stewart. Who doesn't love Jon Stewart?
I don't think Ben loves Jon Stewart.
Well, Ben's Ben.
But when they succeed,
Hold on.
Yeah, no, Jon Stewart and I have beef.
Have a beef?
nations fail, you pay for it. Succeed, it's theirs. They socialize their losses and privatize their gains. Why do we allow that?
Consider this. Wealthy people do not stash their billions in safe deposit boxes loaded with $100 bills. They don't do that. And they don't spend it all at the mall. They don't spend like crazy. No, wealthy people invest. It is investment that creates jobs and economic growth.
See, this is the lie they tell you. That all this money flowing towards corporate moneyed interests is actually for your benefit. The government intervention for corporations is our free market. But government intervention for workers is socialism.
Exactly.
And that's the reason for the socialism scaremongering. It's a false choice. To make you believe that this country has but two options. A socialist, authoritarian, hamburgerless Venezuelan nightmare, or accept the status quo, where large corporations benefit from government help, then use some of those profits to lobby the same government for more government help. They want you to believe that in a free market, while your wages stay low, someday the largesse will eventually trickle down. And in the meantime, enjoy watching your tax dollars help billionaires launch themselves into fucking space.
It's pretty much right on the button, told in a Jon Stewartian manner. But, again, it's the people on the right who complain the loudest about how government is bloated, there's too much spending, simping for billionaires and things like that. And they're literally struggling to make ends meet. They're surviving off of government subsidies, and yet they're voting for the rich and the wealthiest corporations who are benefiting from their vote because they are simping for billionaires. It's crazy this cycle that they found themselves into. But again, that's the power of messaging, right?
Well,
Yep. And to think, hold on real quick, Victoria, and then I'll let you go. What else is crazy is who did he plagiarize without crediting to get that information to give to everybody? That's what I want to know.
Ben's salty.
So salty.
Still salty from that interview 2 years ago when I was on the phone with his producer, Ronald Singh, for 2 hours, and then they credited Everytown for gun safety in the credits of that episode, but did not credit me. I am still salty as fuck.
I get it. I won't play Jon Stewart ever again when you're here.
Your feelings are valid.
Go ahead, Victoria. Although I'm sure
No,
John Stewart is on Victoria's wall somewhere.
no.
Okay.
Actually, no. Actually,
Okay.
no. It's
All
not
right.
one of my.
I
It's
was
not a
wrong.
cup of tea.
Okay.
So what I was gonna say is this is also the whole like idea of socialism, and like one of the arguments I used to hear, and I still hear it all the time, is how, oh, I work so hard for my money. Why should I give it away? Why should I help my neighbor out? Even though most of these people are Christians and they say like they understand that they're supposed to help their neighbor, but it's more like Christianity from the help than it is like Christianity how it should be. And so the thing that I always remember is for wealth, for people who are like trying to understand wealth, they're always looking at the person who has just a little bit more than them. They're not looking at a billionaire. They're looking at someone like me who like my parents didn't spend money on expensive toys. They spent money on taking us to different countries.
Yep.
Like, and that was considered wealthy to some of my friends. And it's that same thing. It's like if I make $50,000 and someone makes $70,000, I'm like, oh, they're making a lot more money than me. But realistically, it's not that much money, especially in like how the economy is functioning with corporate greed and just what we've been experiencing over the last couple of years. So like I always try to keep that in mind when I'm talking to constituents, because they're only seeing it in this small little narrow box. They're not seeing the bigger picture and how that plays out in their bank account.
Exactly. And the people who would benefit from the most from middle class tax cuts are the ones that literally sit there and say, well, Elon Musk paid $11 billion in taxes. Yeah, but it was like 4% of his net worth or whatever.
I want to go back to Stuart for just a second because I'm still salty now. Like y'all got me on the strain because he plagiarized me to dog walk JD Vance. That was the episode. It was the problem with Jon Stewart, season 2. I think it was episode 1 or 2. It's the episode where he dog walks JD Vance with the gun statistics and gun knowledge, and that was 100% from me.
Well,
we listen and we don't judge.
I'm gonna take Jon Stewart off my Christmas list, Ben, just for you. I just want to let you know. Not that he was ever on it, but I'm not going to go on his show because of you. So there you go. Kathleen, good morning. How are you today?
Hi, good morning. I'm good. What I wanted to say, but this has been on my mind, the U.S. aid, a lot of people don't know what that is. And Samantha Powers was on Rachel Maddow the other night. And I know she was an ambassador to the UN, but I think she has something to do with the USA too. And she explained it brilliantly, because all people hear is they spend all this money on a certain program, but they don't understand why they do that. And I feel like somebody needs to get out there like she did. And she's like very quiet, very like a really nice person. And she explained it because I never knew really either, but I'm smart enough to know that they didn't spend millions on sushi. But a lot of people
or condoms. Yeah.
Yeah, and condoms and all that silly stuff. But she explained it brilliantly, and I feel like they need to get somebody out on podcasts because a lot of people don't know what it is, and I didn't know either, and I didn't realize like the condom thing, what that really was. And like I said, I feel like I just got done doing something. She just explained it brilliantly, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. For people who really don't have the common sense to realize you're not going to spend that kind of money on condoms for Hamas or whatever. But I just feel like we need to get somebody like her out there to explain exactly why this money is sent to these countries to benefit us. Because I think
to benefit the world. I mean,
right, exactly.
You go after famine. You go after epidemics. You fight hemorrhagic fever or Ebola at the source, and that's part of what we do.
Right, and to realize like a lot of these farmers plant stuff, produce and stuff for other countries, so now they're going to be out of business because they stopped those programs. These guys just went in and stopped everything without even knowing what the heck they were stopping it for. They just wanted to stop it. It's just I feel like we're not explaining what it is. People just assume that we're just wasting money and we're just throwing this money to other countries, and it's not all about us, it's about other countries. So I don't know. I just feel like there should be somebody out there who actually, like I said, she did a wonderful job explaining exactly what this money is for.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just saying.
Yeah, they're like a breakdown yesterday. Yeah, we did this breakdown yesterday about where a lot of the money goes and the lies that have been connected to it. But I appreciate bringing that up.
Yeah, but maybe like even podcasts, like go on Joe Rogan, because all the young kids love him and might listen to her. I don't know. I'm just saying it just is so frustrating because I don't know, people don't have the logic to understand, like, really? They really sent condoms to Hamas? I mean, that's ridiculous to even think that's true. Or the sushi, which was a joke. I don't know. It's just, I feel like we need to explain to people more what
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
actually
I mean,
for.
I think like we talked about this morning, there's a lot of people that are just so lost. I think we need to be focusing on the 60 million registered voters that didn't show up. But
Right,
thank you for
right. No.
thank you for jumping in
Oh,
today,
you're very
Caitlin.
welcome.
I
Have a good day,
appreciate you.
Steve.
You
All right,
too. See
bye-bye.
you later.
Just
Bye.
speaking to what Kathleen was saying, I think that this goes back to your early conversation. And part of the reason I requested is we need to, as Democrats, be able to message well. And right now, like education, people they don't care. They don't want to know. They don't give a shit how the economy works. They don't care. So we're talking about the economy. Their idea of the economy is the gas pump. Their idea of the economy is eggs. Their idea of the economy is how much milk is. Like their idea of the economy is, can I go out for dinner on a Friday night? Like that is what we have to speak to. And I think that that's part of the issue here. It's like we're hearing about all these departments now that have been in existence for decades.
Yep.
And it's a non-starter because realistically the people who are going to care about those things aren't going to, like, they're not seeking that education.
That's correct.
People might understand now, like with FEMA, like we talk about FEMA and we talk about all the different allocations that FEMA has. They didn't care until they were told, oh, we're just sending money to X, Y, and Z. We're using this money for X, Y, and Z. That is going to be a huge barrier for us because we don't have that same messaging. I mean, that's why I think that we're going to have to fight fire with fire and be the people who are just like, no, you're not allowed to forget what you did. You're not allowed to forget how you voted. You're not allowed to forget that you chose egg prices over basic human rights. But guess what? Egg prices are still rising. So joke's on you, motherfucker.
Gas prices too. By the way, some breaking news. Steve Bannon has just pled guilty in New York to the whole Build the Wall case. For those of you who don't know, funneled money away from this, this PAC that he organized to raise money and then got busted for it and pled guilty. So the question is, how many days until he's pardoned? I don't know, a week?
I give him tomorrow. I mean,
Probably.
Natalie Winters already works for Trump, so he'll get pardoned in a few days.
That's probably true. That is probably true. So
And for those that
that's why he
don't know,
pled
Natalie
guilty.
Winters was running Steve Bannon's like YouTube and social media while Bannon was in jail the last time.
Well, that's actually a good point. It's a state case. That's a good point. That's a good point. It is a state case, so we'll see if that pardon can actually happen. But anyway, Nikki, how are you today?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, I just saw Jared Moskowitz on CNN, and he said something I didn't realize, that in regards to the budget coming up, that they can't do a continuing resolution because they're claiming all the fraud that they're finding, right? So if they fund it with a CR, that they have to fund it status quo. So I learned that. But I'm wondering what you think. Should Democrats not help fund the government in March? Because I think that would wake America up. And I just want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this question, and I have gone back and forth in my head. I mean, part of me says I don't want one single vote. I want the Republicans and the majority to have to figure it out. But we know that if the government shuts down, people's lives will be impacted. So I struggle with that. I really struggle with it. On your point regarding the CR, I think that that's valid, but because of the right-wing machine, they will just deflect it and turn it into something else. Although you have seen budget proposals from the Senate because the House hasn't been able to get their shit together. So there has been a budget proposal introduced by the Senate that, of course, includes Trump's new tax cuts. I don't want to see a single Democrat vote for any cabinet nominee. John Fetterman, you're on my watch list, my proverbial watch list, TikTok, for educational purposes only. I don't want to see Democrats help the Republicans in any way when it comes to legislation. In this case, though, people are going to be harmed.
But they're going to be harmed long term if America doesn't wake up sooner.
I agree. But cutting off funding for programs that, immobile. I mean, government can't function now. I mean, if it's shut down, then I don't know. I'd be curious, Victoria and Ben's thoughts on that.
You can go first, Victoria.
No, I mean, like, I think that I have such a, I am like you, Steve. I'm struggling with that idea. Like, I want to see it happen because I feel like it would wake people up, but I feel like the right would use it as a weapon. They would say, oh, it's because of the Democrats. It's because of and we're always going to be the big bad guys in the room. And let's face it, that's how they've depicted us to core MAGA. And a lot of Republicans feel that way, even if they don't say it out loud. So I don't know that it would be beneficial. I think that our best kick in the nuts, if you will, for the Republican Party is to win all 3 of these House seats and to show them that it is possible to flip seats that are considered unwinnable. And that is going to be our biggest, because that shows that we can work together. So that's going to take leftists, progressives. It's going to take every single person saying, no, we're going to fucking make this happen. And I'm calling out the 800 people in here, go fucking sign up to help these candidates. I'm going to help them as well. But I think that's going to be the best way that we can show that we're active. And also, I think it would be a good way to neutralize this government in 2 ways, because they're not expecting it. That's the one thing that we have on our side, is they think that we're just the weak snowflakes. We're the weak people who don't, we lose elections, that kind of thing. So I think that will be the better option for us, instead of giving them another big bad Democrat boogeyman.
Yeah, I mean, maybe to before we bring Ben in, and maybe because I like the way Hakeem Jeffries messages when we're talking about these kinds of things. So you get out ahead of it now and you say the only party that is willing to keep Americans fed, secure, safe is the Democrats. The Republicans have proven all along that they can't do it. So if the government shuts down, it's because of the Republicans. The Democrats are here to defend American taxpayers, to make sure that there's food on the table, to make sure that, families are safe. Again, you just take control of the message a bit. Ben, your thoughts?
I mean, I'm of 2 minds of this. On one hand, yeah, they're going to blame us, but they're going to blame us regardless. No matter what bad things happen, look at the airplane crashes the minute Trump took over and fired everybody. Suddenly, that's Obama's fault, right? Like, what he points to. So they're going to blame us anyway. We're always the boogeyman for these things. And a part of me just feels like, no, let it happen. Let people hurt and suffer and see that this government doesn't actually give a damn about them, right? Because they'll see then the government helping their rich friends, but not helping any of those poor rural red areas, right?
Right.
And even if they try and blame Democrats, they'll still see that they're still not doing anything to help them, right? But I think that there are more effective ways to get that attention without going that far. We talked about some earlier, Steve, like a national walkout on all jobs. That would shut down the economy for the day. It would hurt businesses long term, much more than it would hurt us, right? Like, we just don't get paid for a day. But like, if everybody walked out, how many millions of dollars does each corporation lose, right? That would shut down the economy. That would get them like immediately to turn around on a lot of things. So that would be my suggestion. Not withhold funding. We need to organize and be willing to be uncomfortable, and all of us just walk out of our jobs. Like teachers, students walk out, all employees walk out.
Yep.
That would shut down everything, and immediately those rich bastards, they would just be like, oh my God, what can we do to get you back? Because it would cost them millions, maybe billions of dollars. It's going to cost us with what they pay us, maybe a couple of $100s, each.
Yeah, and on the collective, I mean, I think that's activism. I hope that helps Nikki a little bit.
No, it still seems like we're kind of being snowflakes to me. But the people that aren't paying attention right now, doing a national walkout, they're never going to hear about it. There's a lot of people that don't pay attention. How are you going to get their attention? That's what I want to understand.
Well, we can do it 1,000 people at a time, Monday through Friday from 8 to noon. I think that's we're trying to remind people of what's at stake here. I think that, like I said, I say this a lot, the resistance is out there if you know where to look. And people are really, I think you're starting to see a little bit more activism. I'm cynical. I'm not by nature, but I've been cynical about apathy. And I hope that there's an opportunity here. We have got to stop. Like, I was so pissed off that Jerry Connolly, who's been in the House for so long, when Nancy Mace was being despicable on the floor, using, the T slur when it comes to members of the trans community, and he's still expecting decorum. I want him to stand up and say, "You're a fucking bigot. Get the hell out of Congress," and then get
Yeah.
censured. Who cares? Who
I mean,
cares?
Yeah.
this speaking on that, this is progressives, Democrats, liberals across the board. Every time I go out and speak to constituents, every time I'm speaking to someone, the question I get, I see it here on the app, I see it out in the real world. Why aren't the Democrats doing anything?
Thank you, Nikki.
Why aren't they
Appreciate
doing
you.
this? Why aren't they pushing back? Why aren't they beating them up? There's two reasons for that. One, they work for us and they don't represent the average voter right now because because Democrats don't show up to vote, like progressives and leftists don't show up to vote. We don't. That's part of the problem. But the second part of this is when I say fuck you to someone on the internet, I'm gonna get someone in my comment section or in a video or in my DMs basically tone policing me, saying that I shouldn't be that way. But then you're telling me that we're supposed to tell Jasmine Crockett and AOC to put their job on the line to say some shit? You've got to build the bridge and get the fuck over it. If I say fuck and you don't like that as a politician, build a bridge. I don't know how else to tell you to build the fucking bridge. Because here's the thing, if you want me to go out and beat them up, I'm happy to do that. Happy to do that. But you've just got to build a bridge to get over how I'm going to say it.
What's your T-shirt? I'm a politician and I say fuck.
I said that last night and I was like, I think that's going to go up on my fourth wall.
Exactly. It's you're right. I mean, let's speak the language of everyday voters. Let's stop. If they're not going to use decorum, then why the hell should we? This is the system. This is what, and that's one of the draws I think that you get. Like, there's a time and a place for political correctness. I get it, but if it's not working, it's not working.
And it's not political correctness in the fact that we're not talking about political correctness to punch down. I'm not punching down with my political correctness. I'm punching up, and that is the goal. So if you're asking for political correctness, stop thinking that it's political correctness of punching down, because I'm not going to punch down. I'm only punching up.
Correct.
That's it.
Exactly right. Or even
I want to see that same energy directed at male politicians, right? Like, it seems like they're only willing to say that to women. They can get the fuck over it and shut the fuck up, as far as I'm concerned.
Preach.
Like the lady yesterday.
Preach.
I'll tell them right quick that they are fucking stupid. And I say that as one of the most educated people I know.
Yeah, exactly. Toodle, how are you today, friend?
Doing good. Good morning, guys. How is everybody else doing?
We're doing.
We're doing. I detect no problems with tone here.
No.
None.
Nope.
This is
None
the accurate
whatsoever.
tone that we all should have.
Exactly. Yes.
I was going to come up today and talk about the follow the money, but first just wanted to say two things. I'm so happy you're going to have Gay on. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
I don't know if you've seen it, but in her original video on her website, when she was still running against Matt Gaetz, she says at the end of her video, her slogan, which is key. She says, "Just say gay, Florida."
Exactly.
I
She talked
love
about that
that.
last night during her live. I commented on that. I was texting back and forth with a member of her team. So
That's awesome. I'm so excited for that. The other thing was, earlier caller brought up Christopher Goldsmith, the gentleman who tracks far right fascism online, and suggested the book list. He's got a website called taskforcebutler.org, which is it's designed to get the veterans to get training material to fight extremism online. It's really interesting. It's based on a general that was actually asked by wealthy billionaires. I think it was in the early 1900s or late 1800s to overthrow the government with homeless vets. And this general basically told on him and said, "No, I'm not doing that."
Yeah, Task Force Butler Institute, veterans fighting against fascism, says go
Mhm.
on offense for democracy. This Veterans Day, Common Defense and Task Force Butler are proud to announce a powerful new partnership to uphold democratic values and counter rising authoritarianism in the wake of Trump's reelection. This alliance brings together two veteran-led organizations committed to safeguarding justice and protecting communities from extremist violence as concerns grow over the direction of our nation's future. Prior to the election, General Mattis, Milley, and Kelly, who each served at the highest levels of Trump's first administration, have issued grave warnings describing Trump's behavior as fascist and cautioning that his actions threaten the very fabric of democracy. As veterans and protectors of the Constitution, both Common Defense and Task Force Butler agree with their assessment and are responding with a fortified commitment to defend democratic principles. Join the fight. Again, join the fight against hate. Taskforcebutler.org. We've posted the resources in our Discord. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really great site. I've been watching him for a while. Ever since J6, he's been fighting the good fight. And the other thing that the other caller brought up too that I wanted to mention was the Doge versus Doggy, and that's brilliant. I listened to Heather Cox Richardson, who does the Letters from an American podcast and Substack, and she was calling it Doge at first, and then she started to call it a Doggy, and it was driving me crazy because I'm like, you know what it's called, but now I know why she's doing it. And
Doggy.
But my main reason for calling in was about the follow the money, and you had brought up earlier, Steve, about the sovereign wealth fund,
right?
And we're like, where is that money going to come from? And I've heard some people speculate this, and it could be right. Is I think all the back doors and everything they're putting into the Treasury Department with Doggy is they're probably going to somehow nab the pension funds of our civil service employees, and they're going to use that to gamble on the stock market, to be the sovereign wealth fund, and which of course means, as John said in his clip, they're going to privatize all the gains and they're going to socialize all the losses. So if they lose all that money they gamble with our pension funds, with our civil service employees, who's going to pay for it? Taxpayers.
Exactly. Think about the buyouts that were offered to federal employees, right? So that's part of it. So they don't have to continue to pay benefits. They'll offer them, whatever the term is,
severance.
Severance. Sorry, thank you. They offer you severance until September, or if you don't accept severance, then you're going to get fired. So all of a sudden, that frees up money that they can pop into the old sovereign wealth fund. So they can do exactly.
And they're never going to get that money because there's no funds appropriated for that.
Of course not.
And Elon Elmo did this exact same thing with Twitter, where he promised the same thing to them. They got a month of payment, and then he stopped it. And the cases that are in course now, it was a class action. They said nope, no class action. You got to go individually now. So all those Twitter employees that got bounced and took the payout, they're left hanging on their own, and that's exactly what will happen to. I think it's up to, last I checked, it's like 40,000 employees have taken the buyout so far.
Correct. Yep.
It's ridiculous.
I know. I mean,
But
I don't blame them. I don't blame them for doing it.
No, I don't. I mean, I'd imagine most of those are probably those that know they can get another job somewhere else, or they're near their retirement or whatever. So like, screw it, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to go somewhere else. Still they capitulated, and they're going to let loyalists come in to replace them. But I can see why they did it. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, that was the gist of my calls, and
thank you, brother.
I'm so looking forward to when you have Gay on. It's going to be amazing.
Monday, 9 a.m. Thanks for being here, Toodle. I appreciate you, buddy.
No problem. See you later.
All right, later. In something in the chat, because our chat's awesome, and this is Tiffany brought this up about how Mike Johnson has talked about, and this may change our tune on whether or not we want the Democrats to be voting in support of Republicans. Mike Johnson has threatened to put the new tax cuts in this spending bill, right? So that would be, if that were to happen and Democrats came out and supported that, then then they're all unalive to me at this point, because that is again, think about what the Republicans talk about. They don't want omnibus spending bills. What an omnibus spending bill is it's just like everything. Everybody does it. All parties do it. It's how you get legislation moved. We're a massive government. We can't have single issue budgetary items because everybody wants a little piece of this, a little piece of that. That's how it works. Everybody get over it. Never going to change. Republicans do it too. They say Democrats don't. Democrats do it too. They say they don't. It's nonsense. But Mike Johnson has signaled that he will include the next round of the Trump tax cuts, which is lowering corporate tax rates to, I think, 15%. I think that's the number. Slide that into this spending bill to keep the government open. If Democrats support that, then I don't know. That's if he does that, that is a reason for Democrats to not vote for it.
Yeah,
right there.
I agree.
That's crazy if they were to do that. But they will. They will try. They will try. They will attempt to blame that on Democrats, and let's see how they respond. Let's see how congressional Dems respond. Beeford, how are you, friend?
Hey, oh, you know what? Just trying to live the dream as much as I can.
Somebody else's dream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you guys for what you do. But anyway, I was on a live like yesterday, and we were talking about what to do about the duelist Democratic Party. A lot of us are fed up and trying to understand what the next step is that we take. And one thing that we discussed was the creation of a third party. So here's my idea. Now hear me out, okay?
Okay.
I'm thinking that we should pester Mark Cuban to start a third party.
Well,
Complicated. It's complicated.
it's complicated because we're trying to move away from having billionaires be
I
part of
know.
the machine, right? I hear what you're saying.
Here's the other part of that too, is to get a proper third party. One, you have to get rid of the electoral college to make that a possibility.
Ugh.
And a third party has to start ground up. So it would have a third party member would have to get elected at a local level, state level, if you will, and then move their way up through there to establish a proper third party. And that's not going to happen with our current administration and our current Democratic Party. The best thing that we can do is, and Citizens United, that's another problem. And some of that PAC money is going to be a problem as well, because you have APAC, APAC as well, that is very much against progressive candidates, because progressive candidates tend to speak out about what's going on in Palestine.
Correct.
So the best course of action would be to elect more progressives into the Democratic Party and get more progressives represented in the party, because at this point the Democratic Party is the only party that is accepting of that, and not letting the entire party be dragged down into progressivism, but like we need to lean more into that. And let's be very clear, progressivism isn't that progressive by world standards. Steve and I talk about this a lot. But that's the closest we're going to get, because one of the things I ran on as a candidate was making sure that there is a party, like a third party option for people, because I would like to see more options that's not just the Democratic Party. Because what we're seeing on the right is MAGA has taken over the entire Republican Party, and MAGA is the Republican Party. And that's something where they've basically made it their entire personality, where we haven't accepted progressivism. And because we're not accepting the progressivism, moderate Democrats don't understand that this is the easiest way, and leftists don't understand that this is the easiest way. And consequently, we're not winning elections because of that. So,
and here we are, thank you for that. And I think what's happening in lives, and I'm going, and people are just trying to find something, right? Like, what can we do to motivate? I mean, just think about this, okay? We had the Super Bowl, all right? We had that halftime performance. We had the core message of what that meant. Why are there not popular Democrats out there talking about the message that was put out and during that halftime show? It's things like that that's very frustrating. And so I feel like we the people are the ones that have to do all the groundwork, right? Because who are we going to making phone calls is great. I'm sure it does make some traction, but the Democrats need to know, if you are not going to work for us, then we want someone else, right? So how do we go about getting in that position to say, yeah, it's nice, AOC, that you could say all this stuff on TikTok or Instagram. What are you actually doing to produce change?
Yeah, I hear you. Let's talk about the Super Bowl thing quite a bit, because I think part of, and I understand what you're saying, but I think part of the disconnect that the status quo DNC has on its hands now is they are connecting to celebrity. They're using celebrity and they're using big events to try to message to their voters who are struggling. So I'm glad that they didn't connect their message. I mean, for those of people paying attention, the halftime show spoke for itself. It was incredibly powerful. I don't think that's how you win over 60 million voters on the Democratic Party who didn't show up.
Yeah.
I think you have to go where they are. I think
That
you got to
makes
sit
sense.
across the table from them. I think you got to be in spaces like this. I think the egos and the entitlement of elected Democrats has gotten to the point now where they're looking for solutions to a problem that they've created by ignoring their middle class voters, by losing rural voters because of their arrogance. So
Well, who do they have then, Steve? Who does the Democratic Party have that actually has that ability to
Me.
have emotions, to feel right? It's us, right?
Exactly.
You, it's other people, it's Will Westmoreland,
Yeah.
it's Hawk, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the things that we talked about. Yeah, buddy. That's one of the things that we talked about, in that live too. Was the fact that we have got to get people like you that have that influence out there even more. And I don't know how that's going to work, but that's our hope, right? And I think in the end, I was trying to find a way to get to this point, right? And so that's why they didn't want TikTok. Makes sense to me now.
Yeah, I mean, yes, agreed. I think in general, let me back up a second. I think that what we're talking about is an incredible, a massive strategy shift from corporate Democrats. They are afraid of progressive voices. They always have been. Bernie is one of the most popular people in the Democratic Party, the voters. He's one of the most popular people as voters, right? But the DNC, because Bernie calls out the same corporate greed that is infiltrating the Republican Party, which, by the way, also infiltrates the Democratic Party, just not as large of a scale. And they don't want to alienate their corporate voters because they feel like they can't win elections unless there's corporate money. Gay has raised like $1.5 million through grassroots donations in her campaign in Florida. It works. You can
Right.
do it.
And they need to understand that strategy that they've had doesn't work because they've lost elections. And now we
Self-made.
have no control.
Yeah, self-made. I know Bernie isn't a Democrat. He's a progressive and he's an independent, but he caucuses with the Democrats.
You
So
caucus. You have to caucus with one of the parties when you're in political spheres. So I want to add two things here. First, I think this is like getting in these spaces is really important. It's one of the reasons I'm on this app every day because I realize that it is getting me some name notoriety as well as it's getting the message out there. It means that I'm interacting with my constituents every day, even if it's not a direct constituent. I'm at a federal level running as a federal candidate, and my job is to speak for the entire country with my district in mind with that. Because I mean, we talked about it yesterday, Steve. I got pushback because I was looking at going to the protests in New York,
right.
And I got shit for it because, guys, I'm a working class person. I don't have a lot of money. A lot of this stuff I have to do is on donations from that and my own time and expertise, that kind of thing. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at these progressive newer candidates, is keeping in mind that we are working class like you. I'm a working class. It's incredibly hard for working class people. So like keeping that in mind while you're considering these things. We speak at a federal level, a state candidates speak at a state level. And that's something that's gotten confused and murky over the years because most people only pay attention to federal candidates. They don't pay attention to what's going on in their state houses. And we are seeing a shift. The second part of this in this grassroots candidates and being able to fundraise, you all are a huge part of that. You can help a candidate fundraise even if you can't donate money. You can donate your time. You can donate hours that you spend on social media. That is considered donation. I need you to be posting my shit. I need you to repost it. I need you to go interact on every single social media that I have. I also, any other candidates the same way. We talked about how much money that Gay has been able to raise, but part of that is it's outside of a normal election cycle. So those extra funds that were going for all these other candidates, now it's focused. And that's why we have an opportunity to flip these seats, because not everyone's going to be focused on all the things and donating to Kamala and donating to the DNC and donating to your state party and donating to this and that. Like, they can donate to this one candidate or these three candidates. They can donate their time. They can donate their resources. They can help fundraise. They can help, do call time, those things. All those things equal so much labor intensive fundraising. And I think that that's going to be really important for the Democratic Party is when we do this shift, we need to shift out of the mindset that these are not winnable seats. They are winnable. We just have to get these federal candidates more national airtime and more traction behind their campaigns.
Agreed.
That's great. And then another thing too, we are so divided as a nation, and the Republicans have really exploited that. They've done it various ways, whether it's through Christian nationalism. You're talking about AB, you're talking about, genders and all of that other stuff. I mean, anything they could find to divide us on. And so that's something else I feel like we need to focus on.
The division, you mean how do we repair
Yes.
it?
How do we start to come together as a nation?
I'm not interested quite yet, B, to be honest.
Oh,
My focus is to
yeah.
motivate 60 million voters who didn't show up.
Yeah. We're in such a deficit in so many ways in this nation. That's true. That's why I call you. That's why I listen.
Yeah,
Well,
some people are. I mean, some people are there, and I really respect the work that Will is doing, trying to connect with people that he disagrees with politically, but they share a profession, farming. I respect that. I really do. I'm not there. I'm not there yet. I want to motivate people. Like I said earlier, the overwhelming majority of Americans care about some progressive values like healthcare, like protection against gun violence and women's rights to their body. There is more of us than there are of them. People just have to show up.
and I think the division, speaking to the division that's in the country, there's a difference between not liking the same football team and thinking that an entire population of people shouldn't exist.
Exactly.
And I don't really want to break bread with someone who thinks that my gay trans brothers and sisters cannot exist. I don't want to break bread with you. I can't fundamentally justify that.
Yeah.
Now, to fix that, we have to really focus on those beliefs belong in your home. You might not agree with it. You might not like it. But guess what? When you leave your house and you leave your front yard, that shit stays on your porch. It doesn't go
Yes.
anywhere else. It doesn't come. I don't want to see it. Everybody's shit stinks. I don't want to see yours. So if you are feeling some sort of way about your book club and its rules on your life and your partner and your deity and people from the same denomination, cool. Keep that shit on your porch. I don't want it.
I think that's great then. I think that's what we've also focused on, right? Mind yours, I mind mine, and let's just be Americans.
Again, I hear this desire that you want things to be unified, and I think there can be no. I can sit across the table and debate economic policy all day, but when someone doesn't prioritize human rights, the conversation from my side is over. It's just done.
Yeah. Okay.
I can feel. I hear what you're saying. I mean, and maybe some people are more evolved, and I'm not. I mean, obviously to each his own, but I can't have a conversation with people who generally voted to take my daughter's rights to her body away or to harm my friends in the various marginalized communities. And I think we have to stop. Yeah. I don't think we should show them grace. I really don't. I don't think we should. I think we're talking about fighting for people's rights to exist in people's lives.
Yes.
It's not a kumbaya moment for me. It's not. It's just
and I saw a comment that someone had said, they kind of called me out and say, you don't leave morality at the door. I'm not talking about morality. I'm talking about religion. Morality and religion are not intertwined.
Agreed.
When I say you leave your shit at the door, you leave those personal beliefs and those rules that apply to you and your specific household at the door. Those rules only apply to you because you don't get to control everyone else's yard. That's what's happening right now. We're in a neighborhood and the HOA has been taken over by people who want to nitpick how high your grass is grown. I don't fucking like HOAs.
Yeah.
They have a purpose and to annoy you as a homeowner, but just keep it on your porch. So
Exactly.
when I say they're not intertwined, they're not intertwined. I'm talking about religion. When I leave my house, I know that not everyone's going to let their sons paint their nails, but my household, they're allowed to. So my boys are explained, if someone's mean to them, they don't talk to those people. You're not don't have to be friends with someone who's mean to you. You don't have to be friends with someone who comments on your nails. We don't talk about bodies like that. We don't talk about religion like that. Those rules are for our household. Other households have other rules. We don't bust butts in our household. Other households do. And that's kind of the mentality I take with it. It's like those rules apply to you, your home, your partner, your deity, your people of the same denomination or faith as you. And at the end of the day, it has no place in my home.
Agreed. B, I appreciate you as always for jumping in today,
Thank
friend.
you.
Always good to
Just
talk to
trying
you.
to find something to hold on to.
I got
We're
you.
holding on to it, I promise.
I got
I
you.
love you guys. Thank you
Thank
for
you. Love you
being
too.
you.
Thanks a lot. All right, bye.
What happened to character? They don't.
Yeah.
There's no character on the right now.
Well, I mean, I get what she's trying to say, and I think that's the goal. And I think a lot of people just see this as an opportunity. But would they extend a hand? I mean, have they? I mean,
No.
why should we? Why would be? I've had this conversation before with people whose families are divided. Why is it the empaths of the world, the people who generally care about others? Why is the expectation on us to reach across the table and to bring them in? They should be asking for our forgiveness, quite frankly.
Yeah. I mean, they should be.
True self-reflection, right? True self-reflection. And I think morality, I think morals are subjective. I don't think everybody, I think people can disagree as to what they think morals are, but and I'm not a Christian, and I would say that my morals are much more aligned with Jesus's morals than a lot of Christians that we speak to.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just like, I care about the poor. I care about those that are disenfranchised. I care about the weak and the sick and the hungry. I care about them. That's why I do this every fucking day, because I care about those communities. And the Christians, the Christian nationalists in particular, they show us time and time again that they don't give a fuck about them.
They're the Christians from the hell. Oh,
exactly.
It's the same fucking mentality. Every single Christian, if they're not fighting their own stigma, they're that Christian. They're no different. And it's disgusting. Christianity has been weaponized by people, and it could be something for good. It could provide good, but instead it just provides hatred and bigotry and division and, fighting.
Yeah, I like this. I found this interesting interpretation of it. It's where is it? If I can find it. MAGA religion. Mocking the disabled is acceptable. Never apologize. Never admit you're wrong. Name calling is cool. Science is stupid. Empathy is a weakness. Fear those who are different. Cheating means you're smart. Bullying people means you're strong. Stealing from charities is acceptable. Reading is a waste of time. Lying is the key to success. Always blame others. Essay is okay. Always take credit for the hard work of others. That seems to me this is what's happened. Shane, how are you today?
I'm good. I got a 30-second PSA. My backdrop is the American flag I fly for all those that voted for MAGA. Anybody else, you get the real American flag.
Okay. What else? What else you got, brother? Anything else on your mind?
That was it. At this point in time, I give no quarter.
I think a lot of us
That's
are
where
there.
I'm at.
I think a lot of us are there.
Thank you for your time, Steve.
You got it, buddy. See you later. Okay. Just checking messages here. All right. Want to thank a couple people for your donations. Thank you to mentioned Erica. Thank you to someone said that my pay apps weren't working. I think they are. Thank you to another Erica on Venmo for your $5. I appreciate you guys. Thank you to subscribers. If you're still interested, please consider subscribing to FactsStillMatter.site. That is our hub. We are going to be using that to pump out information. We're working on subscribers only events. There's going to be subscriber exclusive content, Hey now, posted there. And welcome Blitz625 to our little family. Thank you for becoming a member, and to CYB and Force on Fire. I appreciate you guys very much. Check out the new merch. It's pretty cool.
You guys
Don't
need
be
to
stupid.
keep tapping the screen, guys. I might just call him Silver Facts here later again.
It had been a day. Man, oh man, it's just like, it doesn't take anything. I was joking with somebody about joining our Discord. It's a great way to make yours truly blush. But thank you for that, Victoria. Whatever.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Raython does not look you're connecting, my guy. So please request again and we can bring you back up. Appreciate
You guys can the subscriptions you can do through the website.
Yes.
If this platform goes away.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. If you can't subscribe, resubscribe on TikTok. In fact, I wouldn't mind if you're considering resubscribing here, just go there and subscribe. There's more stuff there anyway. It's better. Hey, Sassy, how are you today?
Hi, I'm pretty good under the circumstances. I first of all just want to tell you guys how much I appreciate you. I really do appreciate this live. I'm going to follow you on YouTube. I'm still trying to figure out how to work Discord, but I don't want to say I'm old because I think I'm the same age as you, and you might not appreciate that.
Not old.
But
We're wise.
yes, we're wise, but I'm seriously techno challenged. Anyway, one of these.
I got you. Yeah, I get it.
I've been able to get onto Discord because I still have a teenager living at home who has helped me with that process, but I can't seem to find you on Discord. I don't know how to find people yet.
Go to the link that's in my bio, and if you just click on that, it will open the invite, and you can just follow the instructions.
You know, I tried that. Believe it or not, I did try that, and it still didn't work for me.
One of my mods, or all my mods, will probably reach out to you via direct message. So buckle up.
Okay, that would be
we
great.
always tell people. Once you join our community, we're like gum on the bottom of your shoe. You're kind of stuck with us.
That's great. That's awesome. So actually, the reason I requested to come up here is because something that you just said about religion, and you probably being more like Christ than most of the proclaimed Christians that we see.
I can't say that. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not the arbiter of that. I'm just saying from what I've seen, it feels that way.
Yes. Yes. I just wanted to share, just if it's okay, my personal experience, because I was raised in church and then I went atheist for a while, then I went agnostic, then I went back to church, and then I went back to being agnostic. It's been quite a journey for me. But one thing that I do say, or I have discovered, is that rejecting religion is not the same as not being Christian. I hope I'm making sense. I have gotten to the place in life where when I read the Bible, I don't read any of the black letters. I just read the red letters, which are the words of Christ. And I try to do them. I try to do the things that he taught. I try to incorporate those into my life. And that is my personal religion. It's all the religion I need. I don't need a church. I don't need an organization. I don't think that proclaiming to be a Christian, I don't think God or Christ cares at all about that. He doesn't need the kind of worship I think that people give him. That isn't the purpose of it all. I think the purpose of it all is to learn to be a compassionate, merciful, non-judgmental person who does like Jesus did, help the poor, help the needy, help to lift up those that are downtrodden. But at any rate, I just thought I would say that because I know a lot of people say that they're atheist when they're so Christ-like, and I see that in their actions and in the words that they say. And I think that that's more important, is your actions and the words that you say. That's all I'm trying to say.
This is kind of a really interesting, and atheists who are listening will relate with this statement. So I was discussing this with someone else who identifies as atheist, and I said, did it feel like a weight was let off your shoulders when you made the decision to be an atheist? When you stopped trying to fight that internal battle of religion, whatever, because we're all raised in that, And they said, yeah, I really did. And I was like, it's almost like we ate the fruit and we became enlightened. And that now we're being punished for it because of that enlightenment means that we understand that it's too stringent, the rules are too like this, and that it doesn't actually do what it's supposed to do. And they were like, that is mind blowing. I'm saving that for forever. And I do feel that way because, like, when I think of religion, I think of the bishop from Les Mis and how he saved Jean Valjean's life. And I, as a child, as a young adult, even as an adult now, what he does in that depiction is the most Christ-like thing you could do. You know, Javert, who is so religious, the law, the whole thing, ends up unaliving himself at the end of the play. And I think about that a lot. Like, Javert thought he was in the right the entire time until he realizes he was actually fucking wrong. Right. And I think the point of that entire thing, the entire play on top of the revolutionary, which we should all be taking tips on, is that, you know, being Christ-like doesn't mean that you just say, I'm a Christian. It's your action. It's how you interact with your fellow man and what you do, because we can change lives. If we give someone an opportunity, they can move forward and do something with their life that they might not have done prior. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at, is like, I feel like a lot of atheists feel this way. We don't hate religion. We see what it can do, but it just doesn't do that. And consequently, because it's all Christians until it's no Christians, just like it's all men until it's no men, it's the same thing. It's all religion until it's no religion, because they haven't deconstructed. I think.
Yeah, I agree, Victoria. And I've always been try to be very consistent. And if people get strength from their belief set, then that's great. And if that's where people turn to in times of doubt and pain, then that's great. You know, being raised Catholic, obviously for me, it's been I couldn't run fast enough away from organized religion from my perspective. But I think morality is defined by what you believe it to be moral. But again, I'm not the arbiter. I mean, my actions are what should be what dictates that. You know, standing in support of marginalized groups and being kind and being empathetic and encouraging people to be their best and helping our fellow man. That is what we've been told is supposed to be Christ-like. So when you have these conversations with people who claim to be Christian, and yet the things that they vote for, the things that they say, that to me is the lie that organized religion has been telling. That doesn't square.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. And Victoria, I love your example of Les Mis. Les Mis is, I was 10 or 11 years old, I think, the first time that I saw I saw Les Miserables. I got to stay up late. It was one of those shows when I was growing up. There were certain things that we were allowed to stay up late for. We were allowed to stay up when Roots was on, the miniseries.
Sure.
And also Les Miserables. And there was a lot of masterpiece theater that I could name that that we watched when we were young. But it impacted me as a young child, and I carried those. I carried the things that I learned from it throughout my life. And
I got in trouble for watching it as a child.
What?
I got in trouble for watching it as a child.
Did you?
I stole the VCR tape from my mom because she had watched it the night before and they wouldn't let me watch it. And I actually popped it in the VCR one day after school, and they came home to me watching it. Now, I already watched Masterpiece Classic a lot, but I think that that's hilarious. And when I was 10, I asked to see it on East End see the musical when we went to England. That was my one request when we went to England. And my dad said, "You're not a normal 10-year-old."
Well, then we're kind of in the same boot camp there. But I say we all learn the songs of angry men. We need to be singing them at our demonstrations. I think there's some very important things there. But lastly, I just want to sum up, religion or no religion, but yes, I did feel the weight, being lifted from my shoulders when I let go. When I went from religion to atheist. But then for a while there, then I felt kind of like, well, I feel like I've got to find something a little bit more than myself. And like I said, it's a personal journey for everyone, but it was definitely a huge weight off my shoulders. And I think that I think this Christian nationalism, it really has me scared because I experienced religious abuse.
It should scare everybody. It
Yes, it
really
should.
Um,
Definitely.
thank you, Sassy, for jumping in today.
Okay.
I appreciate
All
you
right,
very
thanks for
much.
letting me come up and
Got it.
share with you guys. You guys are great.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a
great
good day.
day.
See you later.
Thanks. Bye.
I respect people's journeys. I think, when we have Paula White Kane, who's now the director of the White House Office of Faith, who is even in MAGA circles referred to as a heretic. She believes in the prosperity Bible theory where people need to give more money to be saved. And she's the person who is now in charge of, or now the director of the Office of Faith. And she goes on the record. She's a televangelist. She speaks in tongues. She's completely just
That shit.
yeah, I mean, as the ultimate understatement. You guys talk. I'll be right back. I'm inviting your friend.
Ooh, my friend! Oh, you're on top of me today.
Well, it's my favorite place to be. Hey team, I'm gonna need you to get tapping that screen. I don't think 280k likes is enough, to be honest. And now
let's go for 300 in the next 10 minutes so I can call Facts the Silver Fox. Go ahead.
Now you have my my delicious tone to add to it. I found your conversation really interesting because me and religion. But there's this growing movement of people who are SBNR, spiritual but not religious, who choose not to join a mainstream religion, but who go into effectively a supermarket of where there's a Buddhism aisle and a Christian aisle and a Islam aisle, and they just pick the bits that work for them. And I think if it works for you, do it. Doesn't mean you have to subscribe to the whole package, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We like being able to decide how big of a package we take on.
Don't we just?
Steve would have died if he heard me say that.
We were just talking about packages and how
and how we have to, we were talking about religion and how we have to take the right size of that package. And, everybody has a different size of package that they would like to take on.
Hey now.
True.
Guys, you know what you have to do to get me to say it. Go ahead. Tap, tap, tap.
Anyway, hi, Erica.
Hi.
So
I was just talking about the movement of people who are spiritual but not religious, and how religion has become like a supermarket where you can just pick up the bits that work for you. And if bits work for you, then why not? Let's not forget that meditation and mindfulness both come from, mindfulness is from Buddhism, meditation is from Hindu Dharma and Buddha Dharma. So yeah, pick the bits that work for you and do those bits.
I was just thinking
the size of the package that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, absolutely. The delivery method. Anyway, small town, Vermont is.
I'm so proud of you guys.
Very, very helpful for many, many people. Yesterday, as I was doing the live, I mentioned that the snowplow had come by and taken out a tree that's in my front lawn. I got a note at the end of the day yesterday that someone was going to take care of it. Well, they are literally out cleaning it up for me right now. They're
that's nice.
Chopping it all up, and they asked me if I wanted the wood. I'm like, no, I've got plenty of wood. Thanks very much. So they're going to take the wood away. But that was pretty nice of them to do. So there you go.
It's good to hear that you
have
have
a lot of freaking snow. There's a lot of snow out there. There's
good to hear you have a lot of wood. Plenty of wood. Yeah.
One more time.
Yeah. You said you had plenty of wood.
Plenty. Yep.
Yeah.
Plenty. Yep.
I was going to comment on whether people would like it delivered to their front entrance or their back entrance, but I've decided that's
Hey,
going a bit
You
far.
know, the conversation was very adult-like this morning and very, sophisticated. We were engaging in really, important topics, and then Erica shows up and it goes off the fucking rails, and it's the red light district. It's like Facts After Dark at 11:30 Eastern time.
Look. The point is this: sometimes we need a little bit of light relief,
Sure.
and sometimes, well, a lot of the time, that is what I'm here to provide, the light relief.
Yeah,
yeah, we have
and everybody needs a package delivery now and then, you know?
front door, back door. You decide.
Yeah.
It's up to you, apparently.
You left the
Okay.
room, guys, and I appreciate everyone for getting the likes up. So I think this would be an appropriate moment to comment on how beautiful Silver Fax is today. He's going to kick me from the live. Hey, they liked your live. Just saying.
Thank you,
I'm here to help
guys.
you.
I appreciate y'all very, very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, Bruce Wayne's mother just said Erica is here delivering foreign aid.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So someone said, Victoria and Erica, thanks for helping us get it up.
You're welcome.
Hey now. You're welcome.
Hey
You're
now.
I'll
welcome.
be here till 5.
Not if Steve goes, no, I'm ending early because this is too much for me.
I've never been so grateful for capitalism as much as I am.
Yeah. I've got
Kidding.
an excuse.
I have to
Kidding.
look. I'm just leaning in.
I know. I respect you
Don't
both
tell your.
tremendously.
At least your mods like me. They're gonna kick me.
They do. Yes. My mods are there to protect me. So thank you guys. I appreciate that very much. Erica, how was your day educating young minds? Notice how I subtly changed the subject.
Yeah, I had to split up a fight. That was fun. That doesn't happen very often, actually. But yeah, with my big burly 5'1" self, managed to get in the middle of that. Two kids that were taller than me.
That's
Fun
a little
time.
scary. Like a
fine.
fist fight, like a actual.
Oh no,
fight?
it's more pushing. It was more pushing and shoving, and that kind of stuff. But no, today was fine. I'm doing a unit of work on democracy with one of the groups of kids that I work with. So I did some of that today, and we do some really cool stuff. Which, I don't think you'd be able to do this in the US, but we look at the political platforms of different parties without them being labelled with which party's platform it is, and the kids decide from that who they would vote for. This is the problem. There's so much really good stuff that you can do, and if you think about what the Trump White House is trying to do to classrooms, they're trying to prevent you from teaching the kids anything that's actually useful for their actual lives, right? They're trying to prevent you from teaching critical thinking or empathy or any of those things that schools supplement parental teaching in that way. And we have to, because there are some parents that don't teach any of that stuff. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you heard any of the last conversation, but we were talking about morality being subjective, and I know you teach religion not from a theological perspective, but from a historical perspective.
We teach it
a little
from
bit of both. Yeah. But
I teach what's called religious studies, and it's a multidisciplinary subject. So there's some theology, there's some psychology, there's some philosophy, there's some sociology, anthropology, some natural sciences. When you look at religion, you can't just look at it from a theological perspective. You have to look at it from kind of the societal perspective as well. So yeah.
Did you hear what they're doing in North Dakota?
I dread to think what they're doing in North Dakota.
So we talked about this a bit earlier for those of you who are just joining us. Controversial Christian nationalist legislation introduced in the North Dakota House. The founding fathers, this is what they want included in their constitution. First of all, they want to acknowledge that the state is the kingship of Jesus Christ. Whereas the founding fathers of this great state begin the Constitution with the words, We, the people of North Dakota, grateful to Almighty God, we desire there shall be a recognition of Almighty God as the source of authority, of the Lord Jesus Christ as the rightful ruler of nations. That is text directly from the new legislation that they're introducing.
Oh. I don't like it.
Wouldn't that be a violation of the First Amendment?
Does that matter?
Well, not anymore, apparently, because the Constitution's just a piece of paper.
Yeah, I mean, some of the language was initiated by this rep. By the way, for anybody who's listening from North Dakota, hello, all four of you. Rep Nico Rios, Republican from Williston, North Dakota. This representative has previously created an uproar over anti-Semitic comments he's made on social media, including, quote, "Wonder if the CIA would help Trump overthrow and kick the Jews out of Mexico." That's that guy. That's the guy that introduced that legislation, wanting to turn North Dakota into a Christian nationalist state.
This is the thing, and I did catch this bit of what you were talking about. I think I was filling my car with fuel at the time, but I caught, what you were talking about with regards to what Christianity really looks like in a person, like what following the word of Christ looks like in a human. And it does not look like Christian nationalism. And it fundamentally can't look like Christian nationalism, right? Because in the New Testament, there are two directives that you are given, two directives that are given multiple times over. And those things are to love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul. And the other one is to love thy neighbor as thyself. And there's no distinction in that. Your neighbor is everybody in the Bible. Your neighbor is, in fact, the Good Samaritan, a samurai is a non-Jewish person. And Jesus, of course, was Jewish. So he was teaching Jewish people to love non-Jewish people. And if you are contravening the words of Jesus and saying, well, you can't love or look after or care for anybody who isn't the same as you, that's directly contravening what you state that you believe in.
Yes, obviously. And then when you have people like, the Speaker of the House who would accept those changes to our Constitution, who believes that America is a Christian nation, when you have Christian nationalists in the Supreme Court, who's going to stand up to that? It's clearly unconstitutional. But there's no one in our system of government now that have shown us that they're willing to stand up to it. Sadly.
What I would say is this: I do come from a Christian nation. I come from a nation where church and state are intermingled. We have bishops in the House of Lords.
Right.
It's literally a thing, and religion here always has been intermingled with politics. However, I come from a country where Christian nationalism is virtually not a thing.
Right.
And where, yes, we have some movements of people who are in that direction, but in this country, which is a Christian country by definition, there is no will amongst the people to have, and the person that says that's why the Pilgrims left, well, it didn't work, didn't it? Did it, the Pilgrims leaving? Because they're being told the exact same thing in the US. Like, come on.
Right. Good point.
But they're less than 50% of the population now regard themselves as Christian here. Whereas what percentage is that in the US? Like 70-80%, something like that?
Yeah, it's like 70% in the United States.
At least claim that.
But in addition to that, there is no ambition in this country, any notable ambition to ban abortion. There is no notable ambition in this country to take the vote away from women. And this is by definition a Christian country. So what they want isn't a Christian country.
No, it's Christian nationalist. Sarbear, are you there? You're off your teacupping, Sarbear.
I'm going to drop down. Love you guys.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was in here. I apologize.
That's okay. Victoria, before, hold on a second, Sarbear. Are you heading to Matt's? Will we see you later?
I'm gonna roll over there. I'm going to knock some work out and then head over.
Okay, thank you for being here, friend, as
Love
always.
y'all.
See you later.
Okay. Stay hydrated, vote blue.
Bye. Sarbear, how are you today?
Hi. Good. I didn't even know I was in here. I apologize. This was not on purpose.
That's okay. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Uh, keep honestly, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing really, really good work.
I appreciate you saying that.
So
You have a lovely day. Thanks for being here.
you as well. Thank you.
All right, bye. Okay, I see Lisa. Everybody, we're going to go till noon, then we'll probably raid our friend Matt. So just FYI. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't even know that I I jumped in. I was listening to you guys, and yeah, this is just we have to really focus on this is what I'm doing like locally, because what he's doing is called I read this book by Naomi Klein. It's called The Shock Doctrine. So what they do is like they overwhelm you with all the different things, so that way you kind of give up and they can pass things like, you know, like what happened when 9/11 happened, you know, when they passed the Patriot Act,
Yep.
you know, and that kind of now we see how bad it affected a lot of people. So what I do locally basically is that I hold my local officials, like in my county, accountable for things that they're doing to harm our immigrant community, because I speak out for immigrants in my area. Since I'm a Latina, it affects my family directly. And I have a group of people that does Gaza. So we kind of all work together. And then we just hold local officials and we embarrass them to the point where they actually pull back. So it does start locally. It does help to start locally, because if you try to go in on everything that Trump does, it is overwhelming. It is absolutely overwhelming, and it's exhausting. And then you feel like, my God, you know what? We just give up, and we can't, because it really what it boils down to is fascism.
Exactly. I think that's what we're seeing. I mean, they have this tactic called the muzzle velocity of misinformation. That's exactly what we're witnessing. So you're right. We got to rise above it. But I appreciate you jumping in today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You got it. See you later.
Thanks.
I'm flattered. You have an awful lot to say, so I just sent you an invite if you'd like to come in and have a conversation. I don't bite. I nibble. I don't bite though. Erica bites. I'm just a nibbler.
Yeah, I'm the biter around here for sure. Most people say they enjoy it though, so you know.
Totally. Yeah. Just whatever. We don't judge. We don't kink shame. Hey Gray, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Erica, how's life across the pond? Is it better than over here right now?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you might struggle to find a place in the world where things are substantially worse. So I mean, I think you would find a place where things are immediately worse for the people. But I'm not sure you would find somewhere where doctrine is worse right now. I don't know.
Well, you guys were talking about the churches, and there was at least 16 minutes ago, Joyce White Vance reported on Blue Sky that there has been a what do you call it? A argument made to the federal courts from 27 denominations in regards to ICE detaining people inside of churches, arguing that it violates the First Amendment. It's actually kind of interesting. So it ranges from Baptist, Brethren, Conservative Jewish, Episcopalian, Evangelical, Mennonite, Quaker, Pentecostal, Presbyterian, Reconstructionist Jewish, Reformed Jewish, Unitarian, United Methodist, Zion Methodist, and more. So they've made some pretty, valid arguments in the case of the First Amendment, which I think is at least one step in the right direction. But I do imagine that many of the patrons of those denominations probably voted for this.
Can you imagine, while we're witnessing it, or not imagining it, but we are in a position where something like that has to happen, because we have states in our country that have been given license to basically declare themselves a Christian nationalist hub, so to speak. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
What was that, North Dakota or South Dakota, Steve,
North
that put
Dakota.
that in?
North Dakota.
Unbelievable Christian nationalism, as if there isn't a separation of church and state. It's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But I just wanted to jump up here, give my love, tell people to tap the screen for our Silver Fox friend Steve. He should be up to 350 likes for sure. And the other thing too is there's a lot of Pennsylvanians in here. I know Steve likes to drag us along, even though
Congrats, my
it
guy.
shouldn't it
Congrats.
shouldn't always be said. I appreciate that, but a celebration, sure, but at the same time, we need to get to work. Pennsylvanians need to call the Attorney General's office. His name is David Sunday. He is a Republican. He did not join the case against the Trump administration for the freezing of NIH funds. Pennsylvania is the fourth largest receiver of NIH funds. We have some of the most important children's hospitals in the world with CHOP and Penn Medicine. And, it is an abject failure. Fortunately, the judge out of Massachusetts who required the reprieve originally only gave it to the states that filed the lawsuit, which were all obviously blue states. Fortunately, they came back last night and they approved it nationwide. So that's good. But the Attorney General of Pennsylvania needs to stand 10 toes down for Pennsylvanians. He did not file a lawsuit in regards to Elon Musk and his invasion of our privacy. So we need to be calling that office ASAP. So I would appreciate all of us fellow Pennsylvanians doing our due diligence.
And voting John Fetterman out of office, please. But thank
yeah,
you,
I was talking to Will. I might try and primary him. You might see me around, Steve.
Well, dude, if you know where to find me, if that's the case, I got your back, buddy. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
I appreciate all of you. Thank you all very much.
Talk to you later.
And tap.
What Gray was referencing, this is from the AP. Trump won't block immigration arrests in houses of worship. 27 states have jumped on. More than 24 Christian and Jewish groups representing millions of Americans, ranging from the Episcopal Church and the Union for Reform, Judaism, to the Mennonites and Unitarian Universalists, or UUs, filed a lawsuit today challenging a Trump administration move giving immigration agents more leeway to make arrests at houses of worship. Lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court in Washington contends that the new policy is spreading fear of raids, thus lowering attendance at worship services and other valuable church programs. The result, says the suit, infringes on the group's religious freedom, namely their ability to minister to migrants, including those in the United States illegally. We have immigrants, refugees, people who are undocumented and documented, says Sean Rowe, presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church. We cannot worship freely if some of us are living in fear. By joining this lawsuit, we're seeking the ability to gather and to fully practice our faith, to follow Jesus' commands, to love our neighbors as ourselves. So Christians aren't even safe, apparently.
I'm flattered. Please, can you come up? I don't understand what you mean by today I've taken over 100 viewers. What the F are you talking about?
Yeah, Unflattered has 0 followers and is following 0 people, so I don't think it's worth our time. Wow, look at me. I'm so lucky. It's an Erica sandwich.
You've got double Erica.
Hi there. It's my first time ever joining a live.
Hi, Erica. Welcome.
I grew up in North Dakota, so I wanted to join and just share a little bit. Back when I lived there, they used to have Democratic senators and their one legislator, and it's totally changed since then. So I think that's just the general direction of America.
Seems like it. I've been to your state a few times. Somebody from the Northeast who likes cold weather. I was like, damn, this place is cold.
That's why I live in Florida now, which is not any better.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm hearing you say is you're not surprised by hearing that coming out of your former state?
No, but what is interesting, and North Dakota has a lot of windmills, and I am interested to see how that rolls with Burgum and Trump's love of windmills not.
It's a good point. It's a really good point. In fact, some of the larger wind farms in the country are there, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's definitely an energy state. We have coal, or they have coal, oil, and wind.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I these are things that we had watched for, right? This is why we talk about these things. Like, Is the mainstream media covering the fact that North Dakota is about to become, a Christian nationalist state? Probably
Yes.
not. So,
Yeah.
this is why
So
we talk about these things.
religious, Lutheran and Catholic were the big ones growing up. I was not raised in any religion, much like what I've heard from others. I felt moral in my values and didn't need a religion to support that.
Right, right. Well, I appreciate you joining us today. Thank you for being here, Erica.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
And can I point out, we know exactly why Trump doesn't like wind turbines. It's incredibly well documented that off the coast of Scotland, where his golf course is, the Scottish government allowed the construction, much to his chagrin. Oh, I haven't used the word chagrin for ages. I know it's good. They allowed the building of a new, I don't know what we call it, a wind field, a wind farm.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, off the coast of his golf course. And he considers it to be a blight on the landscape and spent a long time fighting it in court. I love wind farms. I find them absolutely entrancing and I love them.
Like the sound. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just amazing. My friend's family's farm has a ton of wind turbines on it, but again, it's to do with capitalism. It's to do with him feeling like he's lost money because something he doesn't like is off the coast of where he built his golf course.
Exactly right. Good morning, Sam. How are you today? Sam, you're there
yes.
You go. Hi there. How are you?
Good.
Yes.
How are y'all?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind today?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I grew up in Texas and now I'm living in Colorado. And I'm just kind of curious what folks think. Like, maybe it's, I don't know, I'm having this kind of like weird little crisis where I've found that the YT people here in Colorado and in the Midwest are like so much more passive than I thought they were going to be. So, like, for example, I come from a place in Texas where if you said something bigoted or rude in a bar, you would be kicked out. Like, people would like confront you and kick you out. And I've not seen that here. And I'm also seeing like just an avoidance of politics in general. I don't know. Some of my friends have been saying that like Midwestern YT women are a lot less intense than Texas women. I'm just curious, like, how do you activate people who are complacent? Like, I've just been I feel like I'm hitting my head against the wall with people here where I'm like, they now are calling me like a downer because every time they'll say something ridiculous, I'll be like, for example, somebody said something along the lines of like, well, it's not that bad yet. And I was like, well, the camps are already like in Texas. Like, they were built before I left. I had friends being approached for investment opportunities that they of course declined. So like, but then they see me as like a downer for even saying that. I don't know. I think it's just a frustration. I'm like, maybe you guys have better insight.
Well, no, we talk about that a lot. It's about, activating the 60 million people that didn't participate in our democracy, or addressing the protest voters, especially those who represent marginalized groups. And then now they're running from the fight. If you can figure it out, let me know. But I think it's reminding people. Oftentimes, the apathetic voter is really what costs us elections, because there's more people in our country who believe in women's rights to their body, more people in our country who believe in universal health care or responsible gun legislation. The problem is a lot of them don't show up when it's necessary. Like, they'll talk a good game. So the people that you're speaking to, YT women in particular, bad things may need to happen to them for them to realize it, to become activated.
Yeah, that was unfortunately my friend's thought from Texas, as she had said, like, the reason why we're so activated here is because we have to be. Like, exactly. The government absolutely is just like, we will literally let hundreds of people freeze in this freeze because we don't care. Correct. Whereas like in Colorado, it does seem like, at least, like, I feel like there's a lot of like, this is what I felt like happened in Austin too, right before things got crazy and Joe Rogan moved there and Elon moved there. But they were just like, no, but like Denver and Boulder are okay. Like, the two blue hubs are okay, so everything's okay. And I'm like, yeah, but it's about what's happening in the entire country, right, not just what's happening in the good parts of your state.
Yeah, I mean, voter apathy is how democracies die at the end of the day. when especially the people, and I've been very pointed in my criticism of people that have not been involved, especially those that, as I mentioned again, protesters for whatever reason. The question is, what is the right message for them to realize it finally? And I think I've always thought that, YT women may be a gettable target because it's their sons that are being red pilled. It's their daughters that are being the victim of SA, and depending on where they live, may not be allowed to get, access to abortion care or reproductive health care. So that may be a target that is gettable. They may be told in their house who they're supposed to vote for. They are victims of the patriarchy and misogyny. So it may be the reality of something tragic and bad happening to their family for them to realize it. I hope it doesn't come to that, but it may.
I wanna add to that a little bit, in the sense of, I think it is very much a case of it's the same. We, and when I say we, I mean white people. We are not used to sitting in guilt, right? And for a lot of people, the reason that they don't want to confront or deconstruct their internal biases, be they whatever, be they transphobic, homophobic, racist, whatever, they don't want to sit with their internal biases because it makes them uncomfortable. And
right.
Sometimes it takes them being absolutely disgusted by something that is happening in order for that to, as Steve said, activate, not necessarily to themselves, but for them to start seeing these things happening. The problem is, by the time something bad enough happens for them to start to take notice, we don't want that thing to happen in the first place. Exactly. But we can't stop it unless everybody's paying full attention and everybody's watching. So this is what I say. Because my friends sometimes are like, oh, stop talking about politics. You're a bit of a... I don't... connect with other people who are people who agree with you. And but don't stop pointing out to those other friends where this shit is happening, because we need to keep hammering on this. And I don't care if you think I'm boring. This means a lot to me. I listen to the things that mean a lot to you, and if you're my friend and you think you value me as a human being and my opinions, then you value all of me, not just a bit of me.
That's right, the whole package, so to speak. Sam, I hope that helps a little bit. I think we're all in this push to activate voters. Find a cause. Oftentimes, it starts with a non-political approach that you volunteer in a community. Go bring. Hopefully, somebody gets exposed to, a situation where poverty has hit the area, or there's members of marginalized groups that are, in desperate times, and maybe they'll realize what they're seeing, what we've been telling them. I hope that's motivation to get somebody to participate. That's my hope. Hope that helps.
And read them that poem by Pastor, Martin Niemöller, the First They Came For.
First They Came For. Yeah.
And at some point they'll come for all of us, right? It's just how far down that list you are, and you want to stop them before they get to where you are on the list.
For sure. Yeah, no, as a trans person, I'm also on the list right now. So I think that that's part of it. And obviously it's my trans friends understand. It's mostly the cis straight friends, but if anybody, I think you guys have really inspired me to keep doing what I was doing, which seemed to be doing something, which was I joined, and like you said, it's a not political thing, which is what knocked this loose for my brain. But I've been doing stand up and talking about race in my stand-up sets, and it makes people so uncomfortable.
We both do stand-up, don't you?
No, I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. We're all we all suffer from self-degradation, apparently.
Yeah. we all have no self-esteem but massive egos. So.
Well,
that's hilarious.
Steve,
I appreciate
but
that.
I'm funnier than Steve, and I only say that because he said that.
And she's much more humble, obviously. Sam, thank you for the work that you're doing. I think it's about activism and activating and doing what you're doing because you're doing something. That's the key. I appreciate you being here.
For sure. Thanks, y'all.
You got it. Thanks, Sam. And
Tootle said they'll never come for Erica's, and if they do, God help them. I agree with you.
That's right. Just as a reminder, first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Martin Niemöller, 1892 to 1984.
And one more thing, I do want to say, somebody was in the comments a minute ago saying, so-and-so said that ICE are going to start to monitor social media for negative. It doesn't matter. You have a First Amendment right to speak up against the government, and ICE are included in that. So you say whatever you want.
Exactly. Any last words today, friend?
Listen, look, everyone needs to, you need to do what you need to do to keep yourself going, but you also need to do something for other people. You need to do something. And whether that something is coming onto social media and starting a live and talking about an issue that's important to you, whether that something is volunteering at a local homeless shelter, whether that something is going into your kids' school and hearing kids read. I don't give a fuck what that something is. Just do something. Do it.
Exactly.
You will feel a million times better if you are giving back to other people. And, there will be other people feeling the exact same despair as you. But if you want it to stop, you have to do something.
Well said. The activism's a muscle. You got to exercise it. Thank you for being here. We're going to rate our friend USMC McAngry Vet, another person who gets it without question. And if I don't motivate you, Matt certainly will. Yes, Erica.
Can I just point out, it's not USMC McAngry Vet. The MC part is the Mc. So it's US McAngry. Just in case you were looking for him and you put too many Mcs in there.
Good point. I think everybody knows who Matt is, but that's a good call out. Just as another reminder, everybody, next Monday, right here, 9 a.m. Eastern time, I'll be interviewing Gabe Alamont, who's running for that District 1 seat, Matt Gates' old seat in Florida. She'll be joining us. Also, as a reminder, National Ground Game is a PAC that's forming to establish presence in all 50 states so we can help elect people like Gay and Josh Weil to Congress. You'll find the link in the link tree in my bio. Please go sign up for it. Just share what you can. Just more specifically your information as to how you might get involved. You don't have to live there to phone bank. You don't have to live there to help the campaign. So please do that. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Thank you, mods. You guys are awesome. See you back here tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Until then,